I have 7 stunningly beautiful elder sisters, each of whom dotes on me intensely, yet they have no idea that I have already become a king who makes the world tremble. My eldest sister, Qingcheng, is a cold and aloof CEO. My second sister, Lin Qingtan, is a miraculous healer. My third sister, Liu Yan'er, is an enchanting assassin. My fourth sister, Wang Bingning, is a gorgeous journalist. My fifth sister, Chu Yao, is mysterious and unpredictable. My sixth sister, Xiao Qin, is a legendary film queen. And my seventh sister, Luo Li, has an extraordinary background. Chapter 1, Return of the Heavenly Blood King. In the blazing July sun of Jiang City, a lean young man quietly watched the familiar yet unfamiliar city amidst the bustling crowd. 15 years have passed. I'm finally back. My 7 sisters, how have you all been? The young man murmured softly. His name was Liu Yun, an orphan raised in a welfare home with 7 non-biological sisters who treated him as family. Growing up, their favorite game was playing house with Liu Yun, promising to marry him once they grew up. At the age of 5, Liu Yun, in his childish voice, declared, "We're not little kids anymore. A promise is a promise." The sisters then made pinky promises with him, vowing to stay true to their words. Liu Yun eagerly looked forward to growing up each day until a fire devastated his life. In that blaze, his sisters could have escaped but were trapped when they went back to find him. The young Liu Yun cried in terror, yet even then, his eldest sister held him close, comforting him and telling him not to be afraid. The flames raged around them as the 8 children clung to each other, soon losing consciousness from the smoke. When Liu Yun opened his eyes, the fire was still there, but an old Taoist priest had appeared amidst the flames, unharmed by the fire. Stunned, Liu Yun thought he was hallucinating until the old Taoist spoke, "I can save your sisters, but you must take me as your master." Like a drowning man grabbing a lifeline, Liu Yun agreed without hesitation. He didn't realize that this choice would completely change his life. After leaving the welfare home, the Taoist master brought Liu Yun to a temple, teaching him medicine, martial arts, mystical techniques, and an unnamed divine skill. Thus began a 10-year journey. At 15, Liu Yun thought he could finally return to Jiang City, but his master instead sent him to the border battlefield, where he spent another 5 years. 5 years of blood and battle saw the rise of an organization called Heavenly Blood. The Heavenly Blood's 36 generals, all legendary warriors, guarded the 4 regions, deterring any threats to the Dragon Kingdom. And their leader, the Lord of Clouds, had quietly returned to his childhood memory's place Jiang City. Reflecting on the past felt like a dream to Liu Yun. Truly, if this hadn't happened to him, he'd find such a story absurd. The Sunshine Welfare Home still stood, but Liu Yun's emotions were complex. That fire 15 years ago brought widespread attention, and with donations from all walks of life, the welfare home was rebuilt. The former brick and tile houses were now modern small buildings, with much better facilities, but it no longer felt like the place he had known. Still, seeing the innocent smiles of the children quickly dispelled his unfamiliarity, bringing memories of himself and his sisters to mind. It turned out that nothing had changed. The welfare home was still a place of warmth and beauty. Liu Yun explained his purpose to the welfare home staff, who soon brought an elderly woman with reading glasses to meet him. "I'm the director of Sunshine Welfare Home. May I know who you're looking for?" she asked curiously. "You're the director?" Liu Yun was surprised. In his memory, the director was an old man surnamed Wu, not this woman. She nodded. "I've been the director for over a decade. You weren't looking for me?" "I'm looking for Grandpa Wu." "Oh, the former director. He retired quite some time ago." Realizing Liu Yun was there to see the former director, the woman's attitude warmed up. However, Liu Yun's brows furrowed. Grandpa Wu retired. And it seemed he had left over a decade ago, perhaps due to that fire. In haste, Liu Yun asked, "Could you tell me where he lives?" "Of course. Hold on, I'll write down the address." The director went inside, soon returning with a note containing the address and handing it to Liu Yun. "Thank you." Following the address, Liu Yun arrived at a modest home and saw an elderly, stooped man with graying hair sweeping the yard. Liu Yun recognized him immediately. It was Grandpa Wu. After 15 years, he had aged so much. A wave of sorrow struck Liu Yun, and he quickened his pace. But then, a scene unfolded that filled him with sudden, intense anger. As Grandpa Wu was sweeping, a young man in a floral shirt suddenly shoved him, yelling, "Old man! I know those women send you money every month. Where's the cash? Hand it over. In broad daylight extortion. Liu Yan'er's anger surged, and he stepped forward, grabbing the young man's collar. Stealing from the elderly. Have you no shame? You beast. The floral-shirted man, caught off guard, looked panicked but quickly feigned composure. Let me go. This is family business, none of your concern. Family business? Liu Yun looked back at Grandpa Wu in confusion. With a sorrowful expression, Grandpa Wu sighed, Young man, he is not a thief. His name is Wang Gang. I adopted him. Wang Gang? Wang Gang. Liu Yun recognized the floral-shirted man. It was the same Wang Gang who used to bully him and then got scolded by his sisters. How did he end up being adopted by Grandpa Wu? Liu Yun was momentarily stunned. Wang Gang took advantage of Liu Yun's distraction to break free, coughing heavily before glaring at Liu Yun. Damn it. Stay out of my business. Now that you know this is family stuff, get lost. He then turned on Grandpa Wu, shouting, Old man, you adopted me, so you should give me the best food, the best clothes, the best toys. If you can't, why did you adopt me? And those women's money, where is it? Are you planning to take it to the grave? His words grew increasingly vile. Grandpa Wu's frail body trembled violently, yet he simply bowed his head in silent endurance. Unable to hold back, Liu Yun raised his hand and slapped Wang Gang across the face. Smack. This slap is for your disrespect and arrogance. Smack. This slap is for your ingratitude and shamelessness. Smack. And this slap is for your blindness to true kindness. Chapter 2, Distortion. Wang Gang's jealousy. 3 slaps, each louder than the last. When the final slap landed, Wang Gang fell back, sitting stunned on the ground. Completely dumbfounded. What kind of lunatic was this guy? Wang Gang quickly regained his senses, his neck veins bulging in anger. You bastard! No matter how ungrateful I am, it's my family business. Who the hell are you to interfere? Who am I? Liu Yun's cold eyes pierced him. Open your eyes wide and take a good look at who I am. You. That icy tone left Wang Gang frozen in place as he examined Liu Yun's face carefully. Suddenly, his whole body began to shake. The face of this young man started merging with memories of that weak little boy from 15 years ago. So similar. It can't be. Wang Gang shook his head in disbelief. The name was right on the tip of his tongue, but he just couldn't say it out loud. It was too absurd. Surprised? Liu Yun sneered. When we were kids, you bullied me all the time, urinating on my shoes, smearing my clothes with paint. And every time you did something wrong, you'd blame it on me so Grandpa Wu would punish me. Do you remember that? Thud. Wang Gang staggered back a step. It was him. It really was him. The kid he bullied so much, Liu Yun, was back. Why didn't you die in that fire? Wang Gang shouted. Why did you have to come back now and ruin my life? He seemed to lose all reason, screaming, I tried so hard to win those women over, but they refused to recognize me as their brother. They kept saying you were the only one. I did everything I could to impress the director so he'd adopt me, and he did. But this stubborn old man just kept mentioning your name. I tried to live like you, but neither he nor they would give me a chance. What's so special about you? Why do they care about you and not me? Wang Gang's face twisted in rage. Do you know how much I wished you died? He completely lost control, grabbing a metal rod and swinging it toward Liu Yun. But he was met with nothing but a single swift kick. Wham! The rod never made contact. Instead, Wang Gang was sent flying backward 5 meters, a clear footprint imprinted on his stomach. You want to know why you'll never measure up to me? Liu Yun walked over and looked down at him coldly. Because I don't bully the weak, because I'm not ungrateful, and because I don't let jealousy turn into hate. Is that enough? Enough? Liu Yun's voice was soft, but it struck Wang Gang's soul like a hammer. Those were basic principles of humanity. Did Wang Gang have any of them? No. He was a bully, an ungrateful person, consumed by jealousy. Oh! The intensity of those words made Wang Gang cough up blood, his face contorted in agony. Liu Yun watched, his gaze unfeeling. There was no pity in his eyes. This person had been consumed by jealousy and had twisted himself beyond recognition. He didn't deserve any sympathy. Child, are you really Liu Yun? Suddenly, Wu Wendy's trembling voice came from behind. Liu Yun turned around, his cold expression melting into a warm smile. Yes, Grandpa Wu. I'm back. It's really you. Wu Wendy's heart clenched, and finally, he couldn't hold back anymore. He pulled Liu Yun into a tight hug and burst into tears. My dear Liu Yun, you're alive finally, heaven has shown me mercy. I thought it was my fault you died. Wu Wendy sobbed loudly, but it wasn't sadness, more a sense of relief. The child he felt guilty over for 15 years was alive. Yes, Grandpa Wu, I'm alive and well, Liu Yun comforted him gently, though he sensed something unsaid in Wu Wendy's words. Once Wu Wendy calmed down a bit, Liu Yun asked. Grandpa Wu, are you hiding something from me? That fire 15 years ago, it wasn't an accident, was it? Wu Wendy wiped his tears. That happened so long ago, let it go. As long as you're alive, that's all that matters. Liu Yun's suspicion only grew. He continued seriously. Grandpa Wu, if you truly feel any remorse, then please, tell me everything. Wu Wendy tried to avoid the topic, but seeing the determination on Liu Yun's face, he knew he couldn't keep it a secret any longer. He began to explain. 15 years ago, it turned out that fire had indeed been suspicious. At that time, a real estate company called Zhuiyue Properties had its eye on the welfare center's land and repeatedly pressured Wu Wendy to sign a low-price sale agreement. But Wu Wendy was stubborn. No matter what tactics they used, he refused. In frustration, Zhuiyue's representative threatened him, warning him that he'd face the consequences if he didn't sign. The very next day, the welfare center was engulfed in flames. Wu Wendy suspected that the fire was Zhuiyue's retaliation, but he had never found any proof. After the fire, Liu Yun disappeared. Blaming himself for Liu Yun's supposed death, Wu Wendy resigned soon after and adopted a child about Liu Yun's age, Wang Gang. He poured all his guilt for Liu Yun into caring for Wang Gang. But to his dismay, his excessive indulgence only turned Wang Gang into a lazy, spoiled person who constantly demanded money. For a while, Wu Wendy ignored the smaller amounts. But now, Wang Gang had demanded a whopping 200,000 yuan. When Wu Wendy refused, it led to the confrontation Liu Yun had just witnessed. When Wu Wendy finished speaking, silence filled the air. A heavy, deathly silence. He looked up at Liu Yun and froze in shock. The cold glint in Liu Yun's dark eyes was terrifying. Zhuiyue Properties. They had driven him from his home for 15 years, nearly left him to die in flames, and almost cost him his 7 sisters. How would he settle this score? Chapter 3, Sister, I'm back. A fiery rage clawed at Liu Yun's heart, like a dark force from the depths of hell, fiercely tearing at his nerves. Wu Wendy was frightened and quickly reached out to touch Liu Yun's face gently. Child, I told you this not to push you toward foolish actions but because I didn't want to hide anything from you. The old man hesitated to tell Liu Yun the truth, fearing he would go after the powerful, ruthless forces behind Zhuiyue real estate, a move that would be no good for anyone. The feel of the old man's wrinkled hand brought Liu Yun back to his senses. I'm sorry, Grandpa Wu. I didn't mean to scare you. Child, promise me you won't pursue the past anymore, okay? Wu Wendy pleaded. Liu Yun suppressed his anger. Don't worry, Grandpa Wu, I won't do anything foolish. Good boy. Wu Wendy finally relaxed, then smiled. Your sisters will be thrilled to know you're still alive. Liu Yun's body stiffened. My sisters, are they well? They are well. Each of them has built a good life for herself, and they even send me money every month. Here, I still have their photos. Photos? Liu Yun's eyes sparkled. He hadn't seen his sisters in 15 years. What did they look like now? Were they as beautiful as he imagined? Of course, their appearances didn't matter. These sisters were the most beloved women in Liu Yun's life. Wu Wendy went inside and carefully took a stack of photos from a drawer. Liu Yun spread them out eagerly. At first glance, his eyes almost popped out. Are they really my sisters? He could hardly believe it. Not because they looked plain, but because they were all stunningly beautiful goddess-level beauties. Wu Wendy smiled. Not only are your sisters beautiful, but they are all very accomplished too. Liu Yun had no reason to doubt it. As the two chatted, Wang Gang, having caught his breath, suddenly crawled pitifully to Wu Wendy's feet. Grandpa Wu, please, I need that 200,000. I really need it. Apparently, he was now playing the pity card. Wu Wendy was enjoying his conversation with Liu Yun, but Wang Gang's words instantly spoiled his good mood. You ungrateful wretch. You still have the nerve to ask for money? No, Grandpa Wu, it's because I. What is it? Out with it. Did you get yourself into some trouble outside? Seeing no way to avoid the truth, Wang Gang reluctantly confessed. I owe a debt at the casino. They said if I don't pay within a week, they'll take my hand. What? You dare to go to a casino? I'll beat the sense out of you. When Wu Wendi heard it was a gambling debt, his anger flared. He grabbed a broom and started swinging it at Wang Gang. Wang Gang didn't dodge, pleading, I know I was wrong. I was foolish. But it's done, and I have no other way out. That's why I came to you for help. You fool! Are you trying to drive me to an early grave? Just then, a cold, clear voice came from outside. Wang Gang, I warned you not to upset Grandpa Wu again. Why won't you listen? A tall woman walked into the courtyard. Her features were exquisitely beautiful, with an icy elegance. Long, glossy black hair was pulled high into an elegant updo, exuding a regal aura. Her white suit couldn't conceal her graceful curves. She looked every inch a goddess breathtaking. Liu Yun was entranced the moment he saw her. His eyes grew misty. It was his eldest sister. The sister he hadn't seen in 15 years, Qingcheng. Compared to the photo he'd just seen, she looked even more stunning in person, though colder, too. As Liu Yun gazed at Qingcheng, she noticed him. Their eyes met. Qingcheng's body tensed as her gaze flickered with a hint of surprise. But she quickly recovered her composure, as if nothing had happened. Wang Gang, for Grandpa Wu's sake, I'll help you one last time. But if you keep this up, I'll break your legs. To keep Grandpa Wu from worrying, she wrote a check for 200,000 yuan and tossed it to Wang Gang. Wang Gang was overjoyed. Thank you, sister. Don't call me sister. It disgusts me, Qingcheng replied coldly. Wang Gang smirked shamelessly, content now that he had the money. What she thought of him was irrelevant. Sister, it's me. Finally, Liu Yun couldn't hold back any longer, softly calling out. 5 years in the military had molded Liu Yun into a man of iron, unflinching even against the fiercest enemies. Yet now, standing near his eldest sister Qingcheng, he felt a rare surge of nervousness. Even the hardest of men have their soft spots, and Liu Yun's was his 7 sisters. Qingcheng's body trembled. That voice, that word, it carried her back 15 years, to her beloved younger brother. She turned stiffly to face him, examining his somewhat familiar face. Her voice trembled. Are you? Qingcheng couldn't believe it. She had noticed Liu Yun the moment she arrived and had felt that this young man bore an uncanny resemblance to her brother, whom she believed had died in that fire. But she had dared not let herself believe it, fearing disappointment. Even now, after hearing him call her sister, with all the familiarity and emotion in his voice, she still struggled to believe. Then, Wu Wendi, smiling, said, Qingcheng, this is your brother, Liu Yun. He back. Liu Yun Qingcheng was momentarily dazed. Had her brother Liu Yun truly returned? Sister, it's me. I'm back, Liu Yun said with a warm smile as he stepped forward to hug her. Qingcheng's soft body tensed immediately, a flash of resistance in her cool eyes. She hid it well, though. Liu Yun, it really is you. You're back. Sister is really happy. She spoke warmly, but subtly withdrew from Liu Yun's embrace. Liu Yun was momentarily stunned. His sister's reaction was not what he'd expected. She wasn't as excited as he'd imagined. She hadn't even asked how he'd survived the fire. It felt more like the polite exchange between old friends, nothing more. Had 15 years created such distance between them? A pang of sadness tugged at Liu Yun's heart as he suddenly considered something serious. Could it be that his sister now had her own family, which required her to keep some distance? After all, though they called each other siblings, they shared no blood ties. If that were true, Liu Yun could only wish her happiness. Wu Wendi didn't sense the subtle tension, laughing and pulling the two to sit down and chat. Throughout the conversation, Qingcheng never asked Liu Yun anything about himself. The bitterness in Liu Yun's heart deepened. Maybe they really had drifted apart. Chapter 4, The Dragon's Wrath. Touch it and die. After chatting for about half an hour, Qingcheng stood up and said, Grandpa Wu, I need to head back to Qingcheng Group now. I'll visit you again soon. Yes, yes, take care of your business. Everything's fine here, Wu Wendi replied, comforted. If Wang Gang dares to upset you again, make sure you tell me. I'll take care of him. After bidding farewell to Wu Wendi, Qingcheng turned to Liu Yun. Come with me. I have something to say to you. Liu Yun nodded and quietly followed his eldest sister out. Once outside, he noticed a Porsche 911 parked along the street, with a driver waiting nearby. Get in, Qingcheng instructed tersely. Liu Yun climbed into the backseat of the Porsche and immediately felt a chill in the air coming from Qingcheng herself. Liu Yun felt a twinge of surprise. What was going on? Even if they had grown distant after 15 years, why was she being so cold? Tell me, why are you getting close to Grandpa Wu? What's your real purpose? Qingcheng asked coldly. Purpose? Liu Yun was startled. Sister, what are you talking about? Don't act dumb. I don't have time to waste with you. Just name your price. Her icy gaze pierced him. In that moment, Liu Yun understood. His eldest sister's cold demeanor wasn't due to estrangement, she thought he was an imposter. Interesting. A smile played on Liu Yun's lips. He decided to play along. Leaning back in his seat, he let himself relax and replied nonchalantly, if you knew I was an imposter, why didn't you expose me earlier, back at Grandpa Wu's? So, he was admitting it. Qingcheng's expression grew colder. As Liu Yun had guessed, she hadn't believed for a moment that her brother was still alive. She hadn't exposed him simply because she didn't want to ruin Wu Wendi's good mood. These past years, Qingcheng had seen Grandpa Wu's decline and felt a deep sympathy for him, though she had no way to ease his pain. Today was the happiest he'd been in over a decade, and she hadn't wanted to shatter that. But she felt no need to explain this to the so-called imposter, so she simply looked at him, expressionless. Feeling the tension, Liu Yun shrugged and said, why don't you give me a ride, then? We're headed in the same direction. He closed his eyes as he spoke. Qingcheng sighed and instructed the driver, drive. The Porsche sped off in silence, the atmosphere inside the car as cold as ice, with Qingcheng's face remaining stern the whole time. About 20 minutes later, Qingcheng suddenly furrowed her brows. This isn't the direction to Qingcheng Group. The driver, however, kept going, ignoring her. Qingcheng felt an unease creeping over her. Screech. The car finally stopped in an empty area. The driver, He Shun, turned around with a grin. Miss Yi, we all need to make a living. I hope you understand. What do you mean? Qingcheng's gaze was icy. It's simple. Just cooperate with me for some photos, and I promise not to hurt you. With that, He Shun locked the car doors and pulled out a camera along with a sharp knife from under the seat. Miss Yi, you're a smart woman. You know what to do. He let out a sinister laugh, then looked at Liu Yun seated nearby. Kid, you're lucky today. Many have dreamed of seeing this beautiful CEO's body up close, and here you are. Clearly, he intended to take scandalous photos of Qingcheng. Yet Qingcheng didn't scream or panic, instead, she coldly glared at him. Tell me, are you working alone with Liren Group, or is Liu Zhifeng in on this? Like Qingcheng Group, Liren Group was a major player in the skincare market, and their rivalry ran deep. Recently, Qingcheng Group had been preparing to go public, and any scandal about Qingcheng would be devastating. As for Liu Zhifeng, he was the head of Qingcheng Group's HR department, the very one who had hired this driver. He Shun smirked, impressed. They say Miss Yi is not only beautiful but also exceptionally clever. I can see why. His comment confirmed her suspicions. Miss Yi, I'm a man of compassion. I wouldn't mistreat a goddess like you, so why don't you do it yourself? He grinned wickedly, a hungry gleam in his eyes as he moved closer, knowing she wouldn't comply easily. But just then. Crack. A large hand gripped He Shun's wrist, forcing him to meet Liu Yun's frigid gaze. Daring to harass my sister in my presence? Do you want a taste of hell? Liu Yun's voice was as icy as his stare. Having fought on the battlefield for 5 years, Liu Yun could spot malice in someone's eyes with ease. From the moment he met this driver, he sensed something wrong, which was why he asked his sister for a ride. Now he knew it had been the right decision. Kid, don't be so clueless. He Shun scowled. I'm giving you a front row seat to a show, and you want more? Do you want some brother-sister action too? He jerked his arm, only to find Liu Yun's grip like an iron vice. Then, suddenly, snap! A sharp crack echoed as Liu Yun crushed He Shun's wrist bones, making the knife fall to the floor. Oh! He Shun had expected a mere grip to shatter his wrist. He screamed in agony, dropping the camera, and frantically unlocked the car door to escape. But as he stumbled out, sharp pain shot through his legs, and he fell to his knees. Two jagged stones had embedded themselves into the back of his knees. What kind of technique was this? Panic seized He Shun, his entire body trembling under the onslaught of a primal fear. My sister, someone even I wouldn't dare harm. Who are you to touch her? Liu Yun's tone was icy as he approached, stomping down on He Shun's wounded leg. Oh! Another blood-curdling scream echoed, and He Shun passed out from the pain. The dragon's wrath is lethal, touch it, and death follows. For Liu Yun, his reverse scale was his 7 sisters. Anyone who dared to harm them would face the wrath of the King of Heaven's teeth. Were they on the battlefield, He Shun would already be a corpse. Qingcheng exited the car, standing behind Liu Yun. She watched his fierceness with a tremor in her gaze. Who exactly are you? Qingcheng asked. At this, Liu Yun turned to her and began unbuttoning his shirt. Sister, look. Chapter 5, The Birthmark, a Purple Lightning Bolt. Qingcheng was flustered, more panicked than she'd ever been before, her mind swirling with a mix of shock and intense embarrassment. Moments ago, Liu Yun had stepped in to help her, and her impression of him had shifted. She had even thought they could become friends, even if he wasn't her long-lost brother. But she hadn't expected this to happen. It felt like escaping from a wolf pack only to land right in a tiger's jaws. Furious, she tried to stand up, but what she saw next left her frozen in place. Liu Yun had a small secret. On the outside of his thigh, he bore a birthmark shaped like a purple lightning bolt. All the kids from the orphanage knew about it. Naturally, his 7 sisters knew about it too. So when Qingcheng saw that purple lightning bolt, she knew that the young man before her was her brother, the same Liu Yun she had been separated from for 15 years. Little Liu Yun, it really is you, I thought I'd never see you again. Qingcheng stood up and wrapped Liu Yun in a tight embrace, tears flowing freely as if a dam had broken. Liu Yun felt his nose sting with emotion. Nothing had changed, not a thing. His elder sister was still the same as ever, and 15 years hadn't weakened their bond at all. If anything, it had grown even stronger. Deeply moved, Liu Yun silently vowed to do everything in his power to protect her for the rest of his life. But something still felt a bit off. Liu Yun soon realized what it was and said with a wry smile, Sis, maybe let me put my pants back on first. Qingcheng's face flushed red, but she quickly shot him a glare. What are you shy about? It's not like I haven't seen it before. No, sis. There are others here. What? Qingcheng gasped as she suddenly realized they weren't alone. She hurried over to check on He Shun, who was still unconscious, and let out a sigh of relief. Little did He Shun know, he had just missed a priceless sight in that short moment. The Porsche 911 roared back to life. Qingcheng was driving, with Liu Yun in the passenger seat. After all these years, the siblings had endless things to talk about. Qingcheng was especially curious about how Liu Yun had survived the fire 15 years ago and everything he'd been through since. Liu Yun answered her questions but didn't mention his 5 years on the battlefield. He only said he'd been training with an old monk in the mountains. Qingcheng rolled her eyes. Are you telling me a fairy tale? She obviously didn't believe such an outlandish story. Exasperated that she didn't believe him, Liu Yun could only shake his head. Fortunately, Qingcheng didn't press the issue. Instead, she said excitedly, if your other sisters find out you're alive and that you've grown into such a handsome young man, I can't imagine how they'd react. Let us keep it a surprise. I want to surprise them one by one. You little rascal. Qingcheng gave him a knowing smile. Their journey flew by, and before they knew it, they'd arrived at Qingcheng Group headquarters. As they entered the building, laughing and chatting, everyone who saw them was stunned. Their ice-cold goddess was acting friendly with a man? Hearts shattered. Countless employees would be losing sleep tonight. The first thing Qingcheng did upon returning was fire Liu Jifeng, the HR manager. She never hesitated when it came to swift action. That left the HR manager position vacant, and Qingcheng winked at Liu Yun. Little Liu Yun, want to try being a manager? Liu Yun gave a wry smile and shook his head. Better not. I don't know the first thing about running a company. Even though he was the Xiao King, with 36 mighty generals under his command, managing a company was a whole different game. Managing Xiao only required sheer strength, but managing a company meant following rules and protocols, something Liu Yun wasn't skilled at. Qingcheng, however, said, "No worries. It's just a title, really. If you're unsure about anything, Anqi will help you." Anqi was Qingcheng's South Secretary and her close confidant. They were superiors at work but best friends outside it. Seeing his sister's determination, Liu Yun had no choice but to agree. He could always step down if he found it unsuitable. As they talked, Anqi knocked and entered. She was a striking woman, about 25 or 26 years old, dressed in office attire with shapely legs wrapped in black stockings that swayed as she walked. A pair of pink-rimmed glasses hid a beauty mark near her eye. All in all, Anqi was very attractive, second only to the aloof goddess Qingcheng in the company. But Liu Yun only glanced at her before looking away. In his heart, no one could compare to his 7 sisters. "Anqi, perfect timing. I'd like you to meet someone." Qingcheng smiled and said, "This is my brother, Liu Yun. I plan to give him the open HR manager position. What do you think?" Following Qingcheng's gaze, Anqi glanced at Liu Yun with a thoughtful expression. Outside the office, she had overheard colleagues gossiping that the boss had brought back a pretty boy. Anqi didn't believe it. Of course she knew Qingcheng had high standards. But seeing them together now, it seemed the boss had, in fact, fallen. "President Ji, I'm not sure if this is appropriate to mention." Despite their close relationship, Anqi still addressed her formally at work. Qingcheng laughed. "We're all friends here. Just speak freely." Anqi adjusted her glasses and said, "With the company about to go public, I don't think we should make any sudden changes to management, especially not to the HR manager role. Even if it remains vacant, it might be better than appointing Mr. Liu here." "Oh? And why is that?" Anqi thought for a moment and gave her reason in 2 words, public perception. "You think he is my boy toy too?" Qingcheng's sharp mind quickly picked up on her meaning. Anqi replied, "It's not just me, everyone thinks so. With the company nearing its public listing, if rumors started that Qingcheng had ousted an old employee just to promote her boy toy, it would damage the company's reputation." Qingcheng understood this logic, but she waved her hand dismissively. "My mind's made up. From this moment on, Liu Yun is our HR manager. Anqi, show him around." Chapter 6: How Dare the Shu Family. Inside the elevator of Qingcheng building, Anqi frequently glanced sideways, sizing up the young man next to her, revealing a look of contempt from time to time. She had worked with Qingcheng for such a long time, and she only knew that Qingcheng had a brother named Wang Gang who was not doing his job properly. "But this person in front of me has never been seen before, so he must be a gigolo." But Anqi couldn't understand what qualifications Liu Yun had to be a gigolo. He was dressed in ordinary clothes and had a mediocre temperament. Although he looked good, he was not extremely handsome. At least, he was not worthy of Qingcheng. Besides, his face was not white at all. "I don't know what means you used to deceive Mr. Yi, but I advise you to stay away from her. It's not easy for Qingcheng Group to develop to where it is today. If you affect the company's listing because of you, Anqi, will never let you go. Also, before you eat swan meat, you'd better consider whether you are qualified. If you are a toad, just stay in the well and don't dream of ascending to heaven overnight." Anqi kept chattering, her tone full of contempt and disdain for Liu Yun. What she hated most were these impractical pretty boys who only thought about crooked ways. "Are you listening to me?" Anqi stamped her feet angrily. She had said so much just now, hoping that Liu Yun could have some self-awareness, but Liu Yun looked indifferent, like a piece of wood. Of course Anqi was angry. It wasn't until the elevator door opened that Liu Yun replied calmly, "Anqi, I understand how you feel, but it's not your turn to tell me what to do." "What did you say?" Anqi was stunned at first, then anger surged in her heart, and the waves in her chest trembled a few times. She chased out of the elevator, ready to scold Liu Yun, but a figure walking in front of her made her expression change instantly. Gold-rimmed glasses, Versace suit, Cartier diamond watch, the aura of a rich young man comes towards you. The owner of these expensive ornaments is none other than Shu Kai, the eldest son of the Shu family. "Angel, I heard that Qingcheng brought back a pretty boy. Is that true? Shu Kai is Yi Qingcheng's fanatical pursuer and has many spies in Qingcheng group. As soon as Yi Qingcheng brought people back, he received the news. The purpose of this trip seems to be to bring an army to bear to bring punishment. Ji Yuanche's face changed slightly and said, "Where did Master Shu hear this rumor? You know our CEO Yi's character. How could he possibly like other men?" Hearing this, Shu Kai breathed a sigh of relief and said, "I knew Qingcheng wouldn't do such a ridiculous thing." Ji Yuanche looked at this and felt very uncomfortable. How could she not be moved by a gentleman as elegant as Shu Kai? But there was nothing she could do because she liked President Yi. Thinking of this, Ji Yuanche glared at Liu Yun even more angrily. I really don't know what Mr. Yi was thinking. He actually fell for this guy. Compared with young Master Shu, he is nothing. Just as Ji Yuanche was glaring at Liu Yun, a sentence Liu Yun said instantly made her face pale. I am the pretty boy that Sister Qingcheng brought back. Swish. Shu Kai's gaze instantly fell on Liu Yun, and the temperature around him seemed to drop a few degrees suddenly. Ji Yuanche suddenly reacted and shouted, Liu Yun, what nonsense are you talking about? Bossy has nothing to do with you. She winked at Liu Yun desperately. However, Liu Yun seemed unaware and continued, some things cannot be concealed. When Sister Qingcheng and I came in together, many people saw it. Boom. Ji Yuanche's mind was like an earthquake, and her face turned pale and bloodless. Finished. It's all over now. This damn Liu Yun wants to destroy Qingcheng group. Shu Kai's expression was extremely gloomy. He stared at Liu Yun and said, I'll give you one more chance to recount your relationship with Qingcheng. Sister Qingcheng, you are the person I will protect for the rest of my life. Liu Yun said truthfully. How dare you talk nonsense? Ji Yuanche was so angry that she couldn't help but slap Liu Yun in the face, but Liu Yun caught her hand. Don't think that I won't hit you just because you're Sister Qingcheng's friend. Liu Yun glanced at Ji Yuanche coldly. Just this one glance made the latter feel cold all over and speechless for a long time. Shu Kai sneered and said, Boy, you probably don't know my identity yet, right? I really don't know. Then I'll tell you now, my last name is Shu, and the Jiangcheng Shu family is behind me. So what? How? Shu Kai looked at Liu Yun as if he were a fool. I'll tell you what will happen. Our Shu family is the largest distributor of Qingcheng Group. What do you think will happen to Qingcheng Group if I shut down the distribution channel? Hearing this, Ji Yuanche's body trembled violently. The thing she was most worried about had indeed happened. This Liu Yun is simply a scourge to the Qingcheng Group. But soon, Ji Yuanche discovered that this was not the worst, and worse was yet to come. Liu Yun said calmly, not to mention Jiangcheng, even the wealthy families in Beijing don't dare to be so presumptuous in front of me. How dare you, the Shu family? They are just channel dealers. As long as Liu Yun says a word, countless forces that are hundreds or thousands of times more powerful than the Shu family will kneel down and ask for cooperation. He really doesn't take the Shu family seriously. However, when Ji Yuanche heard this, she thought Liu Yun was crazy. He not only wanted to destroy the Qingcheng Group, he wanted to make sure that the Qingcheng Group would never recover. Immediately. Right now. Kneel down and apologize to young Master Shu. Ji Yuanche ordered. Bang. Her response was a slap in the face. I told you not to boss me around. Ji Yuanche was completely confused. Where on earth did Mr. Yi bring back such an arrogant and savage? I want to see Qingcheng. At this time, Shu Kai walked towards the elevator, ready to find Yi Qingcheng to ask for clarification. The elevator door opened. Yi Qingcheng just came down. When she was in the office upstairs, she had already learned about the situation through the intercom and hurried over, but it seemed that she was still a little late. Qingcheng, you came at the right time. Tell me, who is this guy to you? Shu Kai asked loudly. Yi Qingcheng originally wanted to explain, but when she heard Shu Kai's questioning, her face instantly turned cold. Who is Liu Yun to me? It seems that he has nothing to do with you, Master Shu, right? Shu Kai's face froze. Immediately. Anger. She usually pretends to be so pure and innocent, but I didn't expect that she actually keeps a gigolo. She is so shameless. Shu Kai said angrily, Yi Qingcheng, don't forget that it is my Shu family who made the Qingcheng Group what it is today. Do you want to force me to break off cooperation? As you wish. Yi Qingcheng knew very well that severing cooperation with the Shu family would seriously damage the Qingcheng Group, but she really couldn't stand Shukai's attitude, as if she was his designated woman. And, most importantly, Qingcheng looked at Liu Yun and thought, I only have this one brother in my life, who else can I spoil if not him? Chapter 7. This younger brother is a bit domineering. Everyone in the Qingcheng group was shocked. Their icy CEO Qingcheng actually turned against the eldest son of the Shu family for a pretty boy. Is this crazy? The Shu family is the largest distributor of Qingcheng group. It really proves the saying that once a woman is overwhelmed by emotions, she will lose her rationality. Even someone as strong as Qingcheng cannot escape this lore. Rumors spread everywhere for a while. Qingcheng was too lazy to pay attention and directly pulled Liu Yun away from Qingcheng building. Unfortunately, she ran into Wang Gang again outside. Wang Gang is still the same young man as before, without changing at all. The moment he saw Qingcheng, he knelt down. Big sister, please give me another 200,000 yuan, this is really the last time, I swear. It turned out that Wang Gang took the 200,000 yuan that Qingcheng had given him before, but instead of using it to pay off his debts, he wanted to make a comeback, and ended up losing everything again. Get lost, the sight of you makes me sick. Qingcheng was in a very bad mood, and Wang Gang happened to be caught in the crossfire, so of course he would not get any good results. The Porsche roared away. On their way home, Liu Yun looked at his elder sister's serious face and said guiltily, Sister, I'm sorry. Liu Yun was quite impressed with himself for making his elder sister so worried on the first day after returning. Qingcheng's expression softened and he said, What are you talking about, Xiao Liu Yun? This is not your fault. She had long been fed up with Shukai's entanglement, but she did not break up with him because of his status as a channel dealer. Even if Liu Yun wasn't here today, this conflict would have erupted sooner or later. Sister, I've thought about it carefully, and the position of HR manager is still not suitable for me. Crunch. Qingcheng slammed on the brakes, turned around and glared at Liu Yun, and said angrily, Do you mind those rumors? My sister and I are upright and honest, so why should we worry about others gossiping about us? She was really angry this time. Qingcheng didn't care what people in the company said, but Liu Yun's words made her very sad. No, sister, you misunderstood me. Liu Yun hurriedly explained, I am just used to freedom and I am really not suitable for managing a company. It has nothing to do with the rumors. Qingcheng was silent for a while, and finally sighed and said, Okay, as long as you are happy. By the way, sister, your company is having a new product launch the day after tomorrow, right? Well, I'm a little worried now. I feel like Shukai and the beauty group won't let this go. Qingcheng Group plans to hold a new product launch conference before going public to focus on introducing the company's new products, and reporters have already been contacted in advance. But judging from recent events, this press conference may not go so smoothly. Qingcheng had a headache. Greenville. The place where Qingcheng usually lives is surrounded by gardens and fluttering butterflies. Whenever she opened the gate and the sweet fragrance of flowers hit her in the face, Qingcheng's worries would be swept away. Liu Yun looked around and said in surprise, Sister, are you the only one living in such a big house? Well, your other sisters have been very busy recently and haven't been home much. If you hadn't asked me to keep it a secret, I would have called them tonight and asked them to come home. Qingcheng has changed into loose home clothes, and the top is printed with a little white rabbit cartoon pattern, which is very cute. There is a feeling of instantly transforming from a cold goddess to the sister next door. Little Liu Yun watched TV in the living room for a while. I'll go cook for you. Qingcheng said. Don't bother with that, sister. Just make some noodles. Isn't this too casual? No, I remember when we were little and didn't have much snacks to eat, you often secretly used Grandpa Wu's pot to cook noodles for us. I also want to reminisce about the taste of my childhood. Oh well. Qingcheng immediately turned into a cute cook. She was busy in the kitchen for a while, and soon brought out 2 bowls of steaming egg noodles. Liu Yun devoured the food, praising it endlessly. Sister, the noodles you cooked still taste the same as before. I haven't eaten them for a long time. If you like, I'll do it for you forever. Watching Liu Yun drink up every drop of the noodle soup, Qingcheng's eyes turned into crescent shapes as she smiled. When they were about to clean up the dishes, Liu Yun stood up and said, Sister, let me do it. Your hands are so delicate and can be easily hurt by detergent. Oh, little Liu Yun actually knows how to feel sorry for his sister. Qingcheng showed a relieved smile, did not fight with Liu Yun, and said, "Then sister will go take a shower first." After saying that, he went into the bathroom. But after taking a shower, Qingcheng was suddenly dumbfounded. She actually forgot to take her pajamas. No man had ever entered the house before. Qingcheng would always come out right after taking a shower. Not only her, but her other sisters did the same. Looking at the dirty clothes that had been thrown into the washing machine, Qingcheng fell into deep thought. To wear or not to wear, that is the question. Finally, Qingcheng grabbed a white bath towel and prepared to sneak back to the room while Liu Yun was watching TV, but halfway through, her feet suddenly slipped. Ouch! Are you okay, sis? Don't. Before Qingcheng could even say the word, come, Liu Yun had already appeared in front of her, her pretty face suddenly flushed. Liu Yun was also stunned. What's going on? He heard his eldest sister scream and ran over immediately, then saw his eldest sister fall to the ground. Liu Yun was stunned for a moment. When he came to his senses, he suddenly strode forward and picked up Qingcheng by the waist. Little Liu Yun, you. Qingcheng's pretty face flushed and her heart was beating wildly. Although the two were as close as siblings, they were not blood-related after all. Could it be that little Liu Yun was going to? Qingcheng was extremely nervous. At this time, Liu Yun suddenly asked, "Do you have any iodine at home?" "Yes, it's in the cabinet under the TV." After Liu Yun carried his eldest sister to the bed, he immediately turned around and left the room to find iodine and cotton swabs. Taking advantage of this time, Qingcheng hurriedly put on her nightgown. "Your knee is injured. Let me apply iodine to disinfect it." Liu Yun used a cotton swab dipped in iodine solution and carefully wiped the abrasion on his elder sister's knee. I can do it myself," Qingcheng said with a slightly trembling voice. Although she had put on her nightgown, it was still relatively thin, and it was a bit embarrassing to face Liu Yun in this posture. "Don't move." However, at this time, Liu Yun let out a low shout with a serious expression. Qingcheng was slightly startled. Then, he buried his head in the quilt in embarrassment. So embarrassing. But this younger brother seems a little overbearing. Liu Yun slept soundly that night. When I woke up the next day, my eldest sister had already gone to the company. There was breakfast she had prepared in the living room, and a loving note she had left on it. "Little rascal, eat your breakfast." There is a smiley face drawn on the back. Liu Yun's heart was filled with happiness. Even though my elder sister seems very cold outside, she is definitely a warm-hearted elder sister at home. Therefore, I must not let her suffer any injustice. Thinking of this, a cold light suddenly flashed in Liu Yun's eyes. He took out his mobile phone and dialed a special number. Chapter 8, King Nanjiang, meet Lord Yunqian. "What do you want, King?" The phone was connected and an extremely respectful voice came through. "Help me hack into a private network. I want all the files and photos in his computer. Give them to me as soon as possible." "Yes, sir." Liu Yun was brief and to the point. After hanging up the phone, he sent a resume to the other party. The owner of the resume is Liu Jifeng. When Qingcheng fired Liu Jifeng yesterday, Liu Yun was at the scene. Through observation, he found that Liu Jifeng was not an ordinary person. First of all, facing Qingcheng's questioning, he was too lazy to even make an excuse and directly admitted that he had colluded with the Liren group. Secondly, when he left, there was a hint of sneer on his face, as if he was planning something. Considering the recent developments of Qingcheng Group, Liu Yun felt that the most likely thing to go wrong was tomorrow's new product launch. So he copied Liu Jifeng's resume from the company's database. As long as we find someone to hack into Liu Jifeng's computer, we will definitely be able to find some evidence to prevent him from doing anything wrong at the press conference. This is Liu Yun's insurance strategy. Finish breakfast. Liu Yun was about to go downstairs for a walk, and when he arrived at the villa garden, he saw a figure standing upright outside the gate. He was a man in his 40s, with a square face and a short beard, and his face looked quite majestic. His name is Liu. People in Jiangcheng are more accustomed to calling him King Nanjiang. "Nanjiang King Liu, meeting Lord Yunqian." Liu's voice was loud, and the moment he saw Liu Yun, his body suddenly bent to 90 degrees. He has been waiting here for nearly an hour. He kept his back straight throughout the whole process, as if even a moment of slackness would not be enough to express his respect. It was not until Liu Yun appeared that he bowed 90 degrees. You are quite well informed. Liu Yun glanced at Liu and said lightly. He didn't know any King Nanjiang, but he could sense that the other party had some skills in martial arts. I have an elder brother who is a subordinate of General Tianji. He specifically asked me to take good care of His Majesty the Divine Lord. Take care? I'm afraid I'm asking you to please me. Liu Yun snorted coldly. Liu doesn't dare. In an instant, cold sweat fell from Liu's body like a waterfall, and his heart seemed to be pressed down by a mountain, making it difficult for him to breathe. The aura of Lord Yunqian is so terrifying. Ordinary people may think that his temperament is ordinary, but anyone who knows him a little knows that the more ordinary he is, the more terrifying he is. That's what Liu is like. If he had not known Liu Yun's identity in advance, he would have thought that Liu Yun was just an ordinary young man. However, after knowing Liu Yun's identity, every word and action of his could bring him a huge sense of oppression. Don't be nervous. Whether it's caring or flattering, you've come at the right time. Just when Liu felt he was about to suffocate, Liu Yun's words instantly gave him new life. I am willing to obey His Majesty the Divine Lord's orders. Good. Liu Yun nodded. There are a few things I need you to do for me. First, I suspect that the fire at Sunshine Welfare Home 15 years ago was related to Excellence Real Estate. You should focus on investigating their person in charge. Second, my sister's company, Qingcheng Group, will have a new product launch tomorrow. I hope you can set an example. Third. After Liu Yun finished explaining everything, Liu left respectfully, feeling extremely excited. Being able to work for Lord Yunqian is something that countless people dream of. Liu is fortunate enough to receive this honor. I wonder how many people will be envious of him. Shortly after Liu left, Liu Yun received an email alert. I returned to the room, logged into my email using my elder sister's computer, and downloaded the compressed file. Unzip and open it, you'll find some explosive content. Liu Yun couldn't help but sneer, you're quite good at playing. It would be good if Liu Zhifeng doesn't cause trouble tomorrow. But if he doesn't know what's good for him, these documents will be enough to ruin his reputation. The next day. Conference hall on the 13th floor of Qingcheng building. The media entered one after another. Qingcheng emphasized again and again, be sure to check their work permits carefully and don't let any strangers in. Security Minister Guo Hui patted his chest and assured, Boss Yi, you can rest assured that I will do the job. But when preparing backstage, Qingcheng still felt uneasy. Liu Yun squeezed her palm and asked, what's wrong, sister? I don't know. My right eyelid has been twitching since this morning. I always feel like something bad is going to happen. It's okay. I'm here. Even if the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you. You will comfort me. Qingcheng glared at Liu Yun. Although she knew that if something really happened, Liu Yun would not be able to help, she felt a lot more at ease for some reason after hearing his words. The press conference started on time at 10 o'clock. Qingcheng fixed her makeup and walked to the front of the stage, immediately stunning countless media. They had heard of Qingcheng's name before and knew that there was such a beautiful female president in Jiangcheng, but most people thought it was an exaggeration. Nowadays, as long as a woman has good facial features and dresses up carefully, she can be called a beauty. Especially with the help of beauty and filters, Fengji can also become Fengxian. But when they saw Qingcheng appear, they realized they were wrong. Qingcheng was tall and had an outstanding temperament, especially her stunning face. Unlike those internet celebrities who wore heavy makeup, she only put on some light makeup, which was enough to instantly seduce 99% of women. As the name suggests, she is stunning at first sight. The reporters instantly became excited. Qingcheng's performance did not disappoint them. She introduced the company's new products in a generous and orderly manner, and there was no sign of her nervousness when she was on the stage. The first half of the press conference went very smoothly. Qingcheng secretly breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he might have been worrying too much. But not long after, something strange happened. Suddenly, a female reporter stood up and asked, there is news that President Xi is willing to kick out the old employees of the company in order to let the pretty boy take over. Is this true? Swish. The faces of everyone in Qingcheng Group changed instantly. What's wrong with this reporter? Who told you to ask such ignorant questions? Several group security guards were about to kick the female reporter out of the venue, but Security Minister Guo Hui stopped them. Please answer my question, President Yi. The female reporter persisted. Other media outlets also locked their cameras on Yi Qingcheng's face. Compared to Qingcheng Group's new products, they were more interested in digging into the private life of the beautiful president. Yi Qingcheng's pretty face was cold as she said, "This question has nothing to do with the content of today's press conference. I refuse to answer it. How can it be irrelevant?" At this moment, the door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open, and Liu Jifeng walked in with a sneer on his face. He Shun also came in with him. He Shun was sitting in a wheelchair, his legs were covered in plaster and one arm was wrapped in a bandage and hung in front of his chest. When Security Minister Guo Hui saw this scene, instead of stopping it, he took the initiative to step forward and help He Shun push the wheelchair. Immediately, a reporter put the microphone to Liu Jifeng's lips. "Excuse me, sir, do you have any grudges with Qingcheng Group?" "Of course, I am the old employee who was laid off by Yi Qingcheng." Chapter 9: The attack is coming. The moment Yi Qingcheng saw Liu Jifeng, she knew that the situation was not good, and shouted coldly, "Liu Jifeng, you are no longer an employee of this group, please get out." "Har har, President Yi, you are in such a hurry to get me out, are you afraid that I will expose your dirty deeds?" Liu Jifeng sneered. Yi Qingcheng raised her eyebrows. "I, Yi Qingcheng, do things openly and honestly, I am not afraid of you throwing dirty water on me, but what you said has nothing to do with today's press conference, so please leave." "Har har, you'll know if it matters or not after I finish talking." Liu Jifeng continued to sneer. "Mr. Liu, can you tell me in detail what happened?" a reporter asked. Suddenly, all cameras were focused on Liu Jifeng, and no one paid attention to Qingcheng Group's new products anymore. "Of course, I came here today just to tear off Yi Qingcheng's hypocritical face and let you see how ugly her heart is." Liu Jifeng cleared his throat and continued. "My name is Liu Jifeng. I used to be the HR manager of Qingcheng Group. I have worked diligently in the company for more than 10 years. It is no exaggeration to say that the achievements of Qingcheng Group today are absolutely inseparable from my contribution, Liu Jifeng. Now that the company is about to go public, I am very happy and feel that my efforts over the years have finally paid off, but Yi Qingcheng is a woman who is ruthless. In order to help her pretty boy get promoted, she actually kicked me, a veteran who has worked hard and made great contributions, out of the company. Do you think this is fair?" Liu Jifeng complained loudly. The media were talking about it, and their eyes towards Yi Qingcheng had completely changed. It's true that you can never judge a person by his appearance. This woman is so beautiful, but I didn't expect she has such a cruel heart. A company like this still wants to go public. It's better to go to the grave. Yi Qingcheng's face darkened. "Liu Jifeng, you are talking nonsense. It was obviously you who colluded with the beauty group first. I am lucky enough that I did not pursue your criminal responsibility. How dare you turn the tables on me? Do you have any shame? I'm colluding with the beauty group. Yi Qingcheng, you have to provide evidence when you speak. Did you admit in person that you were colluding with the beauty group in my office that day? And now you're asking me for evidence. Joke." Liu Jifeng shouted, pointing at the media and said, "Give me some judgment. Do you believe this? If you betrayed the company, would you come out and admit it? Do you think I'm stupid?" Everyone shook their heads. Only a fool would come out and admit that he was in collusion with other companies. Yi Qingcheng's statement is too imprecise. The one who feels the most wronged is my brother He Shun. Liu Jifeng pointed at He Shun in the wheelchair and said angrily. He was originally Yi Qingcheng's driver, and he was the first to discover that Yi Qingcheng was keeping a gigolo. But just because he said a few words of advice, look at how he was beaten. All cameras instantly moved to He Shun. He Shun also cooperated very well and took out a diagnosis. He gritted his teeth and said, "This is the diagnosis given to me by the hospital. I have a comminuted fracture of the wrist bone of my right upper limb and torn ligaments of both knee joints." Boom! It was like a depth bomb suddenly exploded, and the whole audience was boiling. This is too much. It's totally lawless. Such a vicious woman actually has the nerve to stand on the stage and hold a press conference. Get off now. Yi Qingcheng, you must give us an explanation. You must give Mr. He Shun and Mr. Liu Jifeng justice. Public opinion instantly tilted to one side, and all media reporters were filled with indignation. Yi Qingcheng's face turned pale, and he said in a trembling voice, "Liu Jifeng, you keep saying that I helped the pretty boy get promoted, and that I sent people to beat up He Shun. Where is the evidence? Please show me the evidence. The only thing she can do now is to ask Liu Jifeng to produce evidence. Liu Jifeng snorted coldly but did not respond. At this time, a middle-aged man sitting in the front row suddenly stood up. I have something to say. His name is Jiang Dao. He is the current human resources manager of Qingcheng Group. When Liu Jifeng was in office, he was a deputy. I can prove that Liu Jifeng is telling the truth. Just when everyone thought he was going to speak for Yi Qingcheng, unexpectedly, Jiang Dao actually stood on Liu Jifeng's side. The whole audience was shocked. Yi Qingcheng's delicate body trembled and asked, Jiang Dao, what are you talking about? What am I saying? President Yi, don't you understand? Everyone in the company knows that you originally wanted to give this manager position to that pretty boy, but you gave it to me due to pressure. As Jiang Dao spoke, he took off his work badge and said firmly, I, Jiang Dao, will not accept this kind of charity. Boom! Yi Qingcheng's body trembled violently, but before she could recover, the door of the conference room was pushed open again. The ones who came in this time were Shu Kai, the eldest son of the Shu family, and Wang Gang. Mr. Jiang is right. A woman like Yi Qingcheng is not worthy of you working for her. Leave Qingcheng Group. My Shu family welcomes you to join at any time. Shu Kai's appearance once again pushed the media reporters to a climax. They all knew that the Shu family was the largest distributor of the Qingcheng Group, and young Master Shu was an avid pursuer of Yi Qingcheng. So why was he here too? That's right, it must be Yi Qingcheng's behavior of supporting a gigolo that angered him. As expected, Shu Kai took the microphone handed over by a reporter and said, I declare that from now on, I will sever all cooperation with Qingcheng Group. Then he looked at Wang Gang again, don't you have something to say? You can say it now. After saying that, he handed the microphone to Wang Gang. A trace of resentment flashed in Wang Gang's eyes, and he thought to himself, Yi Qingcheng, young Master Shu promised to help me pay off my gambling debts, so don't blame me, it was you who was unkind first. My name is Wang Gang. Like Yi Qingcheng, I grew up in the Sunshine Orphanage, so I know what kind of person she is. Yi Qingcheng has always liked to bully other children, including me, since she was a child. Wang Gang turned black into white and put the blame on Yi Qingcheng for everything he had done in the welfare home. I won't talk about my childhood. Recently, the old dean was seriously ill and needed a large sum of money for treatment. I found Yi Qingcheng countless times and knelt down to beg her to lend me money. But what about Yi Qingcheng? Not only did she not lend me the money, but she also called me a scoundrel and told me to get lost. After Wang Gang finished his accusation, there was a long silence. The entire conference hall was shrouded in a depressing atmosphere, which was a sign of an angry outburst. Yi Qingcheng, you are a scumbag. Finally, after a long and depressing silence, everyone's anger broke out completely. Yi Qingcheng, an ungrateful woman like you doesn't deserve to live, just go and die. As a woman, I'm ashamed of you, you shameless bitch. Yi Qingcheng, I hope you go to hell soon. The fierce attacks and condemnations made Yi Qingcheng's body shake and tears rolled down. No, that's not the case. I haven't done anything, he said. Yi Qingcheng shook her head desperately, her tears of grievance wet her clothes, but no one listened to her explanation. They have already determined that Yi Qingcheng is an ungrateful, shameless, vicious woman. She should be drowned in everyone's spit. Yi Qingcheng, you hid it so well. I, Ji Yuanqi, have been your sister for such a long time, but I didn't see through you. Ji Yuanqi sneered, took off her work badge, and threw it on the ground. I feel ashamed to work with someone like you. Anji, even you. No matter how strong Yi Qingcheng was, she couldn't bear such continuous blows, and finally her eyes turned black and she passed out. But just as she was about to fall to the ground, a figure suddenly rushed out from the backstage and caught the weak body. Today, none of you will be able to escape responsibility. Chapter 10, Tremble, tremble as much as you can. When Liu Jifeng came out to throw dirty water at the beginning, Liu Yun was already very angry, but he didn't say anything. He is enduring it. He wanted to see how many people there were on the other side and how many methods they would use to bully his sister. Guo Hui, He Shun, Jiang Dao, Shu Kai, Wang Gang, as well as Ji Yuanqi. They jumped out one by one to slander, defame and insult the eldest sister. There are also these media outlets that listen to one-sided statements and condemn and attack Sister Qingcheng without any substantial evidence. The anger in Liu Yun's heart had already accumulated layer by layer. Endless. At this time, Liu Jifeng pointed at Liu Yun and said, "That's him. He's the gigolo that Yi Qingcheng keeps." Swish. Liu Yun's figure disappeared in an instant, and when he reappeared the next moment, he was already in front of Liu Jifeng. "You, his mother, deserve a beating. Deserve a beating. Deserve a beating." Liu Yun grabbed Liu Jifeng's hair and slammed him hard against the table next to him, once, twice, 3 times. Bang! 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 Liu Jifeng's head was bleeding instantly. You barbarian, why do you hit people?" The surrounding media reporters suddenly reacted and angrily rebuked Liu Yun. Liu Jifeng's face was covered in blood, and he screamed while shouting. "You all saw how arrogant this pretty boy was. Hurry up and take a picture of his crime. I want him to spend the rest of his life in jail." R. Without his reminder, the reporters were already pressing the shutter buttons frantically. "I don't think you'll cry until you see the coffin." There was anger in Liu Yun's eyes, and he carried Liu Jifeng onto the stage like a chicken. "Turn on the projector and play the files in my USB drive." Liu Yun shouted loudly to the backstage staff. Bang! The projector lights up. Then, a conversation was heard. "Boss Li, I have arranged for my brother He Shun to be Yi Qingcheng's driver. I believe it won't take long before I can take some nude photos of that bitch." "Well done. It would be best if you release the photos before Qingcheng Group goes public. I want to make Qingcheng Group a joke. Then you promise to give us 2 brothers the money. Don't worry, after the matter is completed, I will not give you a penny less." This is an audio file, but it can be clearly heard that one of the people is Liu Jifeng. After the audio ended, 2 photos suddenly popped up on the projector. One was a family photo of Liu Jifeng, and the other was a bed photo. There are 3 people in the bed photo: Liu Jifeng, He Shun, and a woman. By comparing the photos, it can be seen that this woman is Liu Jifeng's wife. Wow! All the media were in an uproar. The anger instantly turned towards Liu Jifeng and He Shun. It turns out that the real scumbags are you two. You two scumbags must die a miserable death for cheating on our feelings. I heard that Mr. Li in the audio is Li Gaofei, the boss of the beauty group. I didn't expect that the beauty group would resort to such dirty means to suppress its rivals. Expose it. It must be exposed. Let everyone boycott the products of the beauty group. Facing the media's verbal attacks, Liu Jifeng had long forgotten the pain in his head and looked like a lost soul. How so? How so? He secretly recorded this audio clip himself in order to prevent Li Gaofei from refusing to pay his debts. But he couldn't figure it out. How could it suddenly appear in Liu Yun's hands when it was clearly well preserved? Moreover, even his private photos were exposed. Liu Jifeng was completely desperate. The media reporters continued to criticize, but at this time, Liu Yun suddenly shouted, "Shut up!" The huge conference hall fell silent in an instant. Liu Yun's sharp eyes swept over all the reporters, making everyone feel uneasy. Before you condemn others, ask yourself, are you qualified? These unscrupulous media will criticize relentlessly once they catch a point, and they don't have to take any responsibility even if the criticism is wrong. They don't care at all how traumatized those who are wrongly accused will be. All of you owe Sister Qingcheng an apology, kneel down. The scene was dead silent. But no one knelt. They admitted that they had wronged Yi Qingcheng, but wasn't Liu Yun too overbearing to ask them to kneel? Huh, what a big tone. At this time, Shu Kai suddenly snorted and said, "What happened just now only shows that Liu Jifeng is more despicable, but it can't cover up the fact that Yi Qingcheng is supporting a gigolo and is ungrateful." Shu Kai was indeed a little surprised that Liu Yun was able to produce evidence to fight back against Liu Jifeng, but this had no effect on the overall situation. Everything is still under his control. Mr. Shu is right, Liu Jifeng is not a good person, and the same goes for Yi Qingcheng. A reporter immediately echoed. A hint of coldness flashed in Liu Yun's eyes. This Shu Kai has been included in his list of useless people. Sister Qingcheng, you are the sister I respect, that's all. What evidence do you have? Asked the female reporter who started the trouble first. Liu Yun glanced at her coldly. I don't need to prove it. Besides, even if I really have something with Sister Qingcheng, there is no need to report it to a bitch like you. You? Sir, you are now making a personal attack on me. Personal attack? Liu Yun snorted coldly, and a murderous intent suddenly burst out from his body and penetrated into the female reporter's body. "If you say one more word, I will kill you, believe it or not." Plop. The female reporter's legs went limp and she collapsed to the ground in an instant. Suddenly, a pool of pungent and smelly liquid appeared under her white hip skirt. She was scared to death. At that moment just now, it was as if a terrible demon was overlooking her, and it seemed that if she said one more word, she would really die miserably on the spot. Liu Yun's cold gaze moved away from the female reporter and the next target was Wang Gang. Swish! Wang Gang's face turned pale instantly. "You just said that Sister Qingcheng bullied you when you were a child. You just said that you borrowed money from Sister Qingcheng to treat Grandpa Wu's illness. You just said that Sister Qingcheng is an ungrateful person." Liu Yun walked towards Wang Gang step by step, scaring Wang Gang so much that he stepped back repeatedly. His already pale face became even more pale and bloodless. Aye. Wang Gang's body was shivering. He could already feel a terrible chill sweeping towards him. He was so nervous that he couldn't even speak. It felt like a killing god was approaching him step by step. "My nerves are about to break. I admit it was me." Wang Gang really couldn't bear such pressure anymore. With a look of horror on his face, he was ready to tell the truth, but at this time, Shu Kai interrupted him. "Besides threatening people, what else can you do?" Bang! However, just as Shu Kai opened his mouth, he was suddenly slapped away, and 3 bloody teeth flew out instantly. "Silly dog, you keep interrupting me, do you really take yourself seriously if I ignore you?" Chapter 11 Tremble as much as you can. Part 2. Bang! After this slap, the whole place was silent, and everyone's eyes seemed to be torn apart. "That is the eldest son of the Shu family. Madman! This pretty boy that Yi Qingcheng keeps is a complete lunatic." Ji Yuanqi hurried over to help Shu Kai up, then turned to Liu Yun and yelled, "You're finished. Yi Qingcheng is finished too. All of you in the Qingcheng group are completely finished." She was glad that she had left Qingcheng group in time, otherwise she would have been killed by the madman Liu Yun. Ji Yuanqi's roar made all the employees of Qingcheng group tremble in their hearts. Yes. This slap directly destroyed the Qingcheng group, and the employees of the group probably could not escape the wrath of the Shu family. Thinking of this, the look they gave Liu Yun was instantly filled with endless hatred. This damn pretty boy, it's okay for him to be a gigolo, but why did he want to harm Qingcheng group? Why did he want to harm us? You bastard! I want you to die. I want all of you to die here. A tremendous hatred erupted from Shu Kai. His teeth were knocked out, his glasses were broken, and his dignity was trampled upon. How could he vent his hatred if he didn't kill Liu Yun this time? Everyone in the Qingcheng group was trembling. Fear had completely devoured their sanity. But Liu Yun, the culprit, actually said with a confused look on his face, "I'll give you some time to call as many people as you can. I'm waiting for you to kill me." Boom! Everyone in Qingcheng group felt suffocated. Someone immediately said in horror, "Master Shu, I will leave Qingcheng group now. This matter really has nothing to do with me. It's too late. After I kill this bastard, you will be next." Dead end. A complete dead end. They could only vent all their anger on Liu Yun. If looks could kill, he would already be riddled with holes. At this moment, the staff in the background also hurriedly woke up Yi Qingcheng and said anxiously, "Boss Yi, something big has happened." After Yi Qingcheng heard the staff's brief introduction, her pretty face instantly lost color. He stumbled back to the meeting room. "Mr. Shu, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't expect things to turn out like this." "Humph, now you know to call me Master Shu. Now you know to say sorry. Weren't you very arrogant before? Didn't you like to give me the cold shoulder? Show me how to be arrogant again, bitch." Bang! Shu Kai was blown away again, and several of his teeth fell out again. "Watch your mouth," Liu Yun said coldly. However, next second, bang! Another slap was heard. But the person who got beaten this time was Liu Yun. Liu Yun was stunned for a moment. He could have easily dodged, but he didn't, because the person who hit him was Sister Qingcheng. "Liu Yun, you are crazy." Yi Qingcheng was heartbroken. If she wasn't forced to do so, how could she bear to hit Liu Yun? It was because this time the fight was too big. Yi Qingcheng slapped Liu Yun in the face for his own good. She didn't want Liu Yun to make things worse. Boom! At this moment, the door of the conference room was suddenly kicked open, and then a dozen black-clad bodyguards and a middle-aged man rushed in aggressively. Xu Guobin, your son was beaten, why don't you avenge him quickly? Xu Kai shouted as he crawled towards the middle-aged man, his voice beginning to bleed. When Xu Guobin saw his son being beaten so badly, he was immediately furious. Who the hell did this? Get in front of me and apologize immediately. I was the one who beat him. I will take all the responsibility. Just as Liu Yun was about to speak, a graceful figure suddenly stepped out in front of him. It's Qingcheng. She was ready to take all the blame for Liu Yun. You hit him. Xu Guobin's pupils shrank. He naturally didn't believe that a woman could beat Xu Kai into this state. When everyone in Qingcheng group saw this scene, they were completely disappointed. Even at this time, President Ji was still protecting this pretty boy. At this time, Ji Yuanqi suddenly stood up and said, it wasn't her, it was the pretty boy behind her who beat her. Laugh. In an instant, Xu Guobin's eyes, filled with endless anger, passed over Yi Qingcheng and fell on Liu Yun behind her. Ji Yuanqi sneered and said, freeloader, weren't you so arrogant just now? Why are you so cowardly now? Can you only hide behind a woman? Ji Yuanqi, shut up. Yi Qingcheng shouted coldly. Har har, Yi Qingcheng, I am no longer an employee of Qingcheng Group. You are not qualified to order me around. You? Yi Qingcheng wanted to say something, but suddenly a big warm hand pressed on her shoulders. Sister, everyone has their own share of responsibility. I can handle it. Liu Yun took a step forward. Yi Qingcheng was about to ask how you would deal with it, but the moment she saw Liu Yun's back, she swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. Liu Yun's back was not particularly broad, but for some reason, it gave Yi Qingcheng an inexplicable sense of security at this moment. Especially his calm voice, as if he was really confident in handling it. But, the Xu family is so powerful. At this time, Liu Yun had already walked in front of Xu Guobin and said calmly, I was the one who beat that stupid dog of your Xu family. Is there any problem? Any questions? When these words were spoken, not only Xu Guobin, but everyone in the huge conference hall was stunned. You beat someone else's son so badly, and yet you still ask with a clear conscience, is there any problem? What's even more ridiculous is that Liu Yun actually called Xu Guobin's son a stupid dog in front of him. How dare he do that? The strong smell of gunpowder instantly enveloped the huge conference hall. Ji Yuanqi, Jiang Dao, Hua Hui and others watched coldly, quietly watching Liu Yun commit suicide. Fortunately, I had stood on the same front with Xu Xiao early on. If I had stayed in Qingcheng Group, I would have died at the hands of this pretty boy. You little bastard. You're such a coward. Kill him for me. Finally, with Xu Guobin's gnashing roar, the conflict broke out completely, and the dozen or so black-clad bodyguards behind him swarmed forward in an instant. There were screams at the scene, and the media reporters hid in the corners for fear of being affected by the war. However, in stark contrast to them, Liu Yun had a calm expression on his face and said softly, retreat. All of the bodyguards trembled violently, and their brains went blank for a moment. When they came to their senses, they were easily knocked to the ground by Liu Yun. You bunch of good-for-nothings. Fight back. Xu Guobin roared angrily. In his opinion, these bodyguards seemed to be acting with Liu Yun and did not know how to fight back at all. Sudden. A hint of horror appeared in Xu Guobin's eyes, because at this moment Liu Yun had already arrived in front of him. Chapter 12, Tremble, Tremble as much as you can. Part 3. Xu Guobin, maybe in your eyes, I, Liu Yun, can be crushed with bare hands, but how do you know that in my eyes, your Xu family is no different from an ant? Liu Yun came in front of Xu Guobin and said softly. Bang! Xu Guobin took a sudden step back and hit his lower back against the corner of the table, causing him to grimace in pain. What a shame! He, the head of the Xu family, was actually scared away by a word from a young man. I admit that you are a good fighter, but no matter how good you are just one person after all. Can you really go against my entire Xu family? Xu Guobin calmed himself down and yelled in anger. The stunned people around suddenly came to their senses. They were all shocked when they saw Liu Yun's amazing skills just now. One man took on more than a dozen bodyguards and remained unscathed. Is this definitely not a movie? However, although they were shocked, they still agreed with Xu Guobin's words. No matter how good you, Liu Yun, are at fighting, You are just one person. Can you beat a dozen bodyguards? Can you beat 100? He even said that the Shu family were ants. How arrogant. Snap. At this moment, there was a sudden crisp sound of leather shoes, and then a middle-aged man in a suit and tie pushed the door open. The moment they saw the man in the suit, everyone trembled. Sun Tianlei, what are you doing here? Xu Guobin's pupils also shrank. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and said angrily, "Okay, I was wondering where this kid got the confidence and arrogance from. It turns out that your Sun family is backing him up behind the scenes." Like the Shu family, the Sun family is one of the top wealthy families in Qingcheng, and the strength of the two families is almost the same. And this Sun Tianlei is the current head of the Sun family. So that's how it is. On the surface, this is a conflict between Liu Yun and the Shu family, but in reality, it's a contest between the two great Qingcheng families. Great. The media reporters around him had the same idea as Xu Guobin, and they all thought that Sun Tianlei was Liu Yun's backer. But at this time, Sun Tianlei glanced at them in confusion. What are you talking about? What support? Sun Tianlei didn't he understand? He came here with a mission today. Ignoring everyone, Sun Tianlei strode to Yi Qingcheng and said loudly, "Sun Tianlei of the Sun family, under the order of King Nanjiang, delivers a 1 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group." Boom! In an instant, everyone's pupils shook violently. King of Nanjiang. 1 billion order contract. This is crazy. At this moment, when everyone had not yet recovered from the shock, an old man in Tang's suit suddenly walked into the conference hall. Tang Mingyuan of the Tang family, under the order of King Nanjiang, has delivered a 1 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group. Another wealthy family in Jiancheng. It's King Nanjiang again. Another billion order contract. What the hell happened? However, this was far from over. After Tang Mingyuan, several more people walked in. All of them were influential figures in Hejiang city. Lin Lun of the Lin family, under the order of King Nanjiang, delivers a 1 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group. Wu Chenghua of the Wu family, under the order of King Nanjiang, delivers a 1 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group. Yao Weiping of the Yao family, under the order of King Nanjiang, delivers a 1 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group. Time and time again, everyone's nerves became numb, until the last person came in. Nanjiang King Liu delivers a 5 billion order contract to Qingcheng Group. 5 billion. And King Nanjiang is here in person. Even though they had been shocked to the point of numbness, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes again. Crazy, all crazy. Nearly half of Jiangcheng's wealthy and powerful people gathered in the conference hall of this building. If this news gets out, there will be an earthquake. They were crazy about wanting to know what was going on. Yi Qingcheng was also shocked. Everyone in Qingcheng Group was stunned. These wealthy families were the ones they looked up to in the past, but now, they were sending them orders and contracts one after another. 1 billion. 5 billion. By taking on these orders, Qingcheng Group can instantly be promoted from a company that has difficulty in going public to the top company in Jiangcheng. Qingcheng Group is on the verge of soaring to the sky. Yi Qingcheng's chest rose and fell violently, and she murmured incoherently, "Nan. Prince Nanjiang, what on earth is going on?" She also asked the same question that everyone present was wondering. However, Nanjiang King Liu smiled and said, "President Yi, there is no need to ask more questions. These are just our little gifts. Just accept them." After saying that, his eyes looked somewhere, but he quickly looked away. This subtle movement was caught by Yi Qingcheng. She followed King Nanjiang's gaze and her body trembled suddenly. It's Liu Yun. It was her most beloved younger brother, Xiao Liu Yun. The king of Nanjiang must have sent such a large order because of little Liu Yun. Yi Qingcheng's eyes became moist. No wonder little Liu Yun showed a calm expression from beginning to end. It turned out that he had known that King Nanjiang would come. But I actually slapped him. Yi Qingcheng's heart was filled with guilt. King Nanjiang, are you crazy? And Sun Tianlei, Tang Mingyuan, are you all crazy? Xu Guobin couldn't believe what he saw, or rather, he didn't want to believe what he saw. Prince Nanjiang was indeed very powerful, but he was still far from being able to command the major families. So why on earth would these people willingly place huge orders with Qingcheng Group? Xu Guobin really couldn't figure it out. At this time, King Nanjiang snorted coldly and said, "Xu Guobin, maybe we can talk for a moment." No one knew what they said. They only knew that when Xu Guobin came back, his body was trembling and the anger on his face was completely replaced by fear. I'll beat you to death, you beast. Xu Guobin grabbed a stool and smashed it towards Xu Kai like crazy, smashing it non-stop and hard until the stool fell apart and Xu Kai fainted. Everyone's heart was trembling. It is said that even a tiger will not eat its own cubs, but looking at Xu Guobin, it was clear that he had intended to kill him. How could they know Xu Guobin's fear? Just now outside, King Nanjiang told him that the man behind Yi Qingcheng was Lord Yunqian. That's Lord Yunqian. If Xu Kai is not beaten half to death today, the next one to be destroyed will be their Xu family. How could Xu Guobin not be afraid? Moreover, although King Nanjiang did not mention the name of Lord Yunqian, Xu Guobin had already guessed that the person was most likely Liu Yun. He finally understood what Liu Yun had just said. In my eyes, Liu Yun, your Xu family is no different from ants. Not to mention the Xu family, even the top wealthy families in the capital are no different from ants in the eyes of Lord Yunqian. Can I talk now? At this moment, Liu Yun suddenly spoke lightly, and everyone's eyes instantly shifted to him. You could hear a pin drop. I've said before that all of you owe Sister Qingcheng an apology. Can you kneel down now? Chapter 13, August 15th, Generous Gifts Are Delivered. Plop. As soon as Liu Yun finished speaking, Xu Guobin was the first to kneel down. Although he was not present when the media criticized Yi Qingcheng, he was still afraid. The wrath of Lord Yunqian is not something that a small Xu family can bear. He is now determined to use every possible means to gain the forgiveness of Lord Yunqian. Plop. 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 All the people in power in the Xu family knelt down. How could the media reporters around them dare to stand? They all knelt on the ground. This scene was so shocking that it made your eyeballs explode. Liu Yun walked up to Wang Gang and said coldly, "Don't you have anything to say?" I confess that everything I said before was false. It was Xu Kai who said he would help me pay off my gambling debts. Wang Gang clarified everything again. His voice was trembling, his body was trembling, and his soul was trembling. Xu Guobin was trembling along with him. Every time Wang Gang mentioned Xu Kai's name, Xu Guobin would slap himself hard, wishing he could cut Xu Kai into pieces. At this time, Jiang Dao also knelt down and crawled in front of Yi Qingcheng, crying and saying, "Boss Yi, I was wrong, please give me another chance, I have a wife and children to support at home. Don't you say you won't accept food given out of pity." Yi Qingcheng snorted coldly. Jiang Dao's mood was filled with regret. Yi Qingcheng looked at Ji Yuanqi and Guo Hui again. "Since you are determined to leave Qingcheng Group, I will not try to keep you. I wish you a bright future." Puff. The two were so depressed that they almost vomited blood. If they offended Yi Qingcheng today, it would be equivalent to offending King Nanjiang. In this Nanjiang area, which company would dare to hire them? This sentence of "a bright future" is really ironic to the extreme. After many twists and turns, the new product launch conference finally came to an end. All media reporters were very secretive about today's interview, and no one dared to report today's content. As for the promotion of Qingcheng Group's new products, with nearly 10 billion orders from the King of Nanjiang and major wealthy families, is there still a need for publicity? At this time, on the top floor of Qingcheng building, Nanjiang King Liu bowed his waist and said to the young man in front of him with great humility, "Your Highness, are you satisfied with my arrangements today?" Liu Yun nodded. "Not bad, the show is grand enough and worth encouraging." Hearing this, a happy smile immediately appeared on Liu's face. He didn't look like the King of Nanjiang at all. He was clearly a child who got full marks in the exam and was praised by the teacher. Liu was complacent for a moment, but soon stopped smiling and said, "Your Highness, the beauty group. There is no need for it to exist anymore. If the beauty group follows market rules and competes normally, Liu Yun would be too lazy to intervene, but if they resort to despicable means, then I'm sorry. The beauty group must disappear." This cannot be blamed on Liu Yun for not giving her a chance to live, but it was the Luren group that offended her first. If I were not here today, Sister Qingcheng really didn't know what would have happened to her. Liu said solemnly, "Understood, I will immediately inform those family leaders to completely ban the beauty group." Then, Liu handed over a black card with both hands and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this is a supreme VIP card issued by the Dragon Country Chamber of Commerce. It is valid throughout the country. Please be sure to accept it." That's thoughtful. Although Liu Yun was not short of money, this was a gift from Leo after all, so after thinking about it, he accepted the black card. After a while, Liu Yun remembered something very important and asked, "Any clues about the fire at Sunshine Welfare Home 15 years ago?" He asked Leo to investigate the matter yesterday. Only one day had passed. He didn't expect Leo's answer, but Leo actually nodded heavily. Reporting to His Majesty, "We have already found some clues." Leo was indeed the first person to discover Liu Yun's identity. He was very efficient. He said slowly, "I specifically checked Excellence Real Estate and found a contractor who was in charge of the project. According to him, the fire was indeed caused by them." In order to pry open the contractor's mouth, Leo took a lot of effort, using both intimidation and inducement, and finally got the answer he wanted. Liu Yun didn't care how he got the news, he just wanted a result. When he heard that the fire was indeed related to Excellence Real Estate, two cold rays of light suddenly flashed in Liu Yun's eyes. "Excellent Real Estate, looking for death. Who is the boss behind it?" "Chen Ping." Leo replied, "He is from the Chen family in Jiangbei. He mainly runs the real estate business. More than 90% of the real estate resources in Jiangbei are controlled by him, but what? But my main forces are concentrated in Nanjiang. I can't get involved in Jiangbei." Leo smiled bitterly. Qingcheng has a special geographical location. It is built beside the water. There is a Zhongjiang River running from west to east in the middle, dividing Qingcheng into two areas, north and south. South of Zhongjiang River is the territory of Nanjiang King Liu, while north of Zhongjiang River, the Chen family has the greatest influence. Liu Yun thought for a moment and then said, "It's okay. I have my own solution." "Where is Chen Ping from the Chen family now?" "According to the information I received, he should be in Nanyuan province now." "Nanyuan province?" "Well, in the middle of next month, which is August 15th, it will be the 60th birthday of Mr. Chen. Chen Ping has made a special trip to Nanyuan province to prepare gifts. He is quite filial." Liu Yun sneered. "The fire that year almost burned me and my sisters to death, and also tortured Grandpa Wu into that state. Of course, this account must be settled. But since Chen Ping has gone to Nanyuan province, let him have some free time for another month. On August 15th, I will personally deliver a generous gift to you, Chen family. Do you dare to accept it?" Liu Yun put his hands behind his back, narrowed his eyes, and an invisible pressure instantly spread out. Leo couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. On August 15th, there might be an earthquake in Jiangbei. After leaving Qingcheng building, Liu Yan'er was completely distraught. When she saw a stray dog barking at her on the road, she couldn't help but picked up a stone and threw it at the dog. "You dare to laugh at me, you dead dog! Ouch!" tilde. The stray dog let out a scream and ran away. But when Liu Yan'er saw this scene, she felt even more uncomfortable. Wasn't her current situation the same as that of the stray dog? Suddenly, a feeling of sadness arose. "I won't give up. Yi Qingcheng, you just hooked up with Prince Nanjiang, you pretentious bastard, I despise you." In Liu Yan'er's opinion, the reason why the king of Nanjiang helped Yi Qingcheng today must be because the two of them had some shameful dealings, and Liu Yun was Yi Qingcheng's kept gigolo. The relationship between the three of them is simply immoral. Liu Yan'er was unwilling to accept defeat, so she made a phone call in anger. "Dad, I agree to marry into the Chen family, right away." Chapter 14 I am Yun Chen God. Chen Ping has a son named Chen Xian, who is a well-known playboy in Jiancheng. Any woman he sets his eyes on can basically not escape his clutches. In the past few years, there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent girls who have fallen into his hands. Until one day, when Chen Xian was enjoying himself, a mysterious female killer suddenly broke in and cut off his penis with a single click. This incident caused a huge sensation at the time. The Chen family was furious and once offered a reward of tens of millions to catch the female killer, but in the end, it ended in vain. Thus, Chen Xiang changed from a playboy to a famous eunuch in Jiangcheng. Not long ago, the Chen family suddenly released a marriage announcement, and the target of the marriage was Chen Xiang. Although everyone knew that Chen Xiang was disabled, the marriage announcement still attracted countless beautiful ladies and celebrities. After all, the Chen family's status is there. As long as you marry into a wealthy family, you will be able to soar to the top. It doesn't matter whether you are disabled or not. Jiu Jianming also sent his daughter's photo with the attitude of giving it a try, and unexpectedly, Chen Xiang liked her at first sight. Jiyu Jianming excitedly told Jiyu Anqi the news. However, when Jiyu Anqi heard that the person she was going to marry was Chen Xiang, she immediately showed strong resistance. She doesn't want to be a widow all her life. But now, Jiyu Anqi has changed her mind. There was no place for her to stand in Nanjiang anymore. If she stayed here, she would never catch up with Yi Qingcheng. Of course Jiyu Anqi was unwilling to accept this. She wants to go to Jiangbei, she wants to marry into the Chen family, and she wants to use the power of the Chen family to take revenge on Yi Qingcheng. And that damn pretty boy Liu Yun, she wanted Liu Yun to kneel at her feet and lick her heels like a pug. At this time, Liu Yun had returned to the president's office. Yi Qingcheng sat at her desk, holding her cheek in her hand in a daze, obviously still feeling guilty for slapping Liu Yun. When she saw him come in, she immediately stood up and said, "Little Liu Yun, I'm sorry." Liu Yun was not angry with Yi Qingcheng at all, but he still said with a straight face, "If an apology is useful, what do we need the police for?" Yi Qingcheng pursed her lips in grievance, "Then what do you want from me?" This kind of contrast is so cute that it's explosive. But Liu Yun continued with a straight face and said, "My wounded heart is like a crushed bottle. Do you think it can be healed by just saying sorry? The bottle is flat, so if you blow it up, it will." Yi Qingcheng was about to explain, but when she looked up, she saw Liu Yun trying to hold back his laughter. She immediately realized that he was just pretending to be angry, and glared at him, "You little rascal, you even dare to tease your sister." She grabbed a document on the table and threw it at Liu Yun. Liu Yun hurriedly dodged to the side and said innocently, "Sister, why did you hit me? I am a traumatized person now, you should comfort me. You're still pretending. It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know your sister's majesty." Yi Qingcheng completely gave up her image of a cold goddess and pounced on Liu Yun with her fangs bared. The two siblings fought for a while, and finally Liu Yun surrendered. "Seriously, the reason why the king of Nanjiang and several major families sent us orders worth billions today was because of you." Yi Qingcheng straightened her clothes and restored her goddess image, looking like a completely different person from before. Liu Yun nodded and said seriously, "Yes, because I am Lord Yunqian, King Nanjiang is afraid of me, so he sent me a 5 billion order." TSK, little Liu Yun, I find that you have changed, you have become more slick. Didn't you say before that you had been cultivating an immortal in the mountains for 15 years, how come you have become Yunqian god now? Well. Seeing Sister Qingcheng's disbelieving expression, Liu Yun had to find another excuse and said, "Actually, I'm a miracle doctor. I cured the Nanjiang king's mother's illness. He came to repay me for my kindness. This is a plausible reason." Liu Yun. It's really hard to be an honest person these days. As the two were chatting, Yi Qingcheng's cell phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID and immediately made a silent gesture to Liu Yun, "It's your fourth sister calling." The fourth sister, Wang Bingning, is a beautiful reporter. According to the eldest sister, the fourth sister is currently investigating a kidnapping case of King Jiji in Cambodia and will not be able to return home for the time being. Yi Qingcheng quickly answered the phone, and Liu Yun asked curiously, "What did the fourth sister tell you?" "Nothing, she just asked about the new product launch, and I almost told her the news that you were still alive." Yi Qingcheng said playfully, sticking out her tongue. Hee, I wonder what fourth sister's reaction will be when she sees me after returning home." Yi Qingcheng thought about it seriously. "I think she would be so excited that she would pull down your pants to check the birthmark." In the evening, the brother and sister drove out of the company, but did not return to Greenville, but came to a bar called Night Rose. Liu Yun said righteously, "Sister, your brother is innocent, how could you bring me to such a place?" Bang! Yi Qingcheng slapped Liu Yun on the back of his head and said unhappily, "What are you thinking about? This is the bar opened by your third sister. Didn't you say you wanted to give your third sister a surprise? Let's do this later." She suddenly leaned over to Liu Yun's ear and told him a plan, with a cunning light flashing in her beautiful eyes. After listening to this, Liu Yun said with a strange expression, "Sister, I usually see you as aloof, but I didn't expect you to be even worse than me. Stop talking nonsense and get out of the car right now." Yi Qingcheng took full advantage of her long legs and kicked Liu Yun out of the car with one kick. Then she drove the Porsche into the parking lot and went into the bar alone. Liu Yun walked around the area and saw a nice bracelet on a street stall, so he bought it. It wasn't until 20 minutes had passed that he slowly walked into the bar. Chapter 15, Make a Bet. Night Rose Bar. A few wretched men huddled together, talking and criticizing each other. She's absolutely gorgeous. With this figure and this face value, she's definitely a goddess. The rouge and powder around her are just so low class. She is indeed a 100% beautiful girl, but she is too aloof. In less than 20 minutes, she has already rejected 7 approaching men. Hey, you guys don't understand this, right? Goddesses like this with great figures and looks are all here to hook up with rich men. How could they possibly be interested in those losers? Fatty, you know a lot, but why do I remember you were the first person to be rejected? Ahem. The wretched fat man showed an embarrassed expression. I didn't say I'm not a loser. Look, the 8th person who's trying to strike up a conversation has appeared. Wait, isn't that the eldest son of the Tang family? Hey, it's really the eldest son of the Tang family. It's over. The goddess is about to be conquered. That's the eldest son of the Tang family who has the title of Goddess Harvester. If he makes a move, there will be no escape. Why don't we make a bet and see how long it will take the young master of the Tang family to conquer that extremely beautiful woman? As soon as Liu Yun walked into the bar, he heard a few men talking, so he walked over and said, "What are you betting on? Add me in? You?" Several people looked at Liu Yun at the same time, scanning him like a scanner, and finally smiled contemptuously. Poor bastard, like you shouldn't join in the fun, save your money for the bus. He's wearing all this cheap stuff, so calling him a loser is a compliment to him. Liu Yun was not angry either. He directly took out $100 bill and said, I bet that man will fail in his attempt to flirt with me. $100. You really are fucking rich, man. The corners of several people's mouths twitched at the same time. Seeing the way Liu Yun took out money, those who didn't know would have thought that he took out tens of thousands of yuan. The wretched fat man's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he took the 100 yuan and said, I'll bet with you, if young Master Tang fails to flirt with me, I'll pay you 500. Although the mosquito legs are small, they are still meat. Why not take this kind of free money? At this time, Liu Yun said again, what do you think the chances of success are if I go to chat up that beautiful woman? What? You're going to pick up someone? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone laughed and laughed so hard that they fell over. Har har, brother, are you sure your head wasn't caught in the door when you left the house? You look so ugly, and you're still trying to flirt with me. I'm afraid you're going to make me die of laughter, har har har. Liu Yun said seriously, what if I succeed in chatting her up? If you succeed in chatting me up, I will start a live broadcast of fucking with a 5-speed electric fan. The fat man is also a ruthless person and set a flag on the spot. Okay, remember what you said. Liu Yun smiled and walked confidently towards a bar. Sitting at the bar, there was a beautiful lady dressed in an urban beauty outfit, holding a red wine glass in her hand, shaking the wine in the glass very elegantly. Looking from the side, his cheeks are slightly drunk, especially his chest, which is just like the saying, when you look at a mountain from the side, you see a peak. At this time, a handsome young man was already chatting with her. He was Tang Lei, the eldest son of the Tang family. Beauty, the first time I saw you, I felt that this place was not suitable for you. Why? Because this place is too vulgar and doesn't match your noble temperament. Is this how you usually approach girls? Not really. I'm just looking for someone, a mistress worthy of this star dream. Now it seems that I have found it. Tang Lei spread out his palm and revealed a deep blue crystal pendant. This is the latest limited edition crystal pendant launched by Swarovski. Only 100 are sold worldwide, and Tang Lei was lucky enough to purchase one. As for girls, which one doesn't like beautiful jewelry? In the past, Tang Lei used this crystal pendant to lure countless young and beautiful women to his hotel. Of course, he was just playing around and would just spend some money to get rid of those women afterwards. It was impossible for him to really give them the dream of stars. Today, Tang Lei came to the Night Rose bar to look for new prey. When he saw Qingcheng for the first time, he was infatuated with her. This woman is so beautiful. Her face, figure and temperament are better than all the women he has played with before. Tang Lei swore that he would take her down, so he used his usual tricks. However, to his surprise, Qingcheng simply glanced at the crystal pendant and then looked away. Sorry, I'm not interested. Rejected. Not only Tang Lei, but even the fat man and others who were eavesdropping nearby were stunned for a moment. Are there still women in this world who don't like gold and silver jewelry? Are you pretending to be reserved? Tang Lei had the same idea, so he was preparing to launch the next round of attack, but at this moment, a figure suddenly came to Qingcheng's side. Hey, this pretty girl has nice breasts, perfect for having a baby. Would you be so kind as to accept my gift? The person who came was Liu Yun. He had a frivolous expression on his face and a bracelet made of plastic beads was spinning on his fingers. Tang Lei was stunned for a moment. Where the hell did this country bumpkin come from? His language is vulgar and his behavior is frivolous. The funniest thing about him is his bracelet, which looks like a low-quality product bought for a few dollars on the street. Where does he get the courage from? The wretched fat man and others not far away almost fell to the ground, and were so embarrassed that they almost dug out a 2-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment with their toes. Okay. Unexpectedly, Qingcheng actually smiled sweetly, happily took the plastic bracelet, held it in her arms and laughed non-stop. Suddenly. Fuck. 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 The fat man and his companions' eyes almost fell out of their sockets. They never dreamed that this would be the outcome. It turns out that this is what beautiful women like. If you had told me earlier, I could be quite a rogue too. The fat man was very depressed. The companion next to him seemed to have thought of something and joked, "Fatty, now that he has succeeded in chatting you up, when will you broadcast the 5-speed electric fan? Fuck you, run away before he finds you." The fat man immediately moved his fat butt and rolled out of the bar like a ball. Liu Yun naturally noticed the fat man's actions, but he didn't care. The bet with the fat man was just a joke. At this moment, Tang Lei was as still as a stone. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. He said in disbelief, "Beautiful lady, please look carefully. His bracelet is just a few dollars worth of street goods. What kind of bargain store merchandise is this? I clearly spent more than $10 to buy this." Liu Yun said unconvinced. The corners of Tang Lei's mouth twitched. Is there any difference between $12 and a few dollars? At this time, Qingcheng also said, "The value of a gift does not lie in its value, but in who gives it. As long as there is a heart, it is a treasure." After these words were spoken, Tang Lei became even more uneasy. "Just now I gave you the dream of stars so sincerely, but you didn't even take a second look at it. This country bumpkin came and flirted with you, and you actually say he has good intentions? I feel like you guys are kidding me." How could Tang Lei not understand that he was being fooled by these two people? Chapter 16, Rose Queen. Tang Lei's face was gloomy. But before he could get angry, a charming voice suddenly came, "Master Tang, what made you look so ugly?" Everyone looked up. A moment of stagnation. I saw a beautiful woman slowly walking down the stairs on the second floor of the bar, her limbs swaying gracefully and her legs shaking gently. Wearing a gorgeous red dress and a pair of shiny silver high heels, she looked like a queen descending from the sky. In fact, this woman is Liu Yan'er, known as the Rose Queen and the behind-the-scenes boss of the Night Rose Bar. Everyone showed an obsessed look. They had long heard that the boss behind Yi Qiangwei was a sexy, charming and stunning beauty. Now they saw that her reputation was well deserved. There was a faint smile on Liu Yan'er's lips, and her flaming red lips seemed to exude a fatal temptation. When she walked to Qingcheng's side, everyone around her suddenly looked dazed. When two top beauties meet, their looks are surprisingly equally good. The only difference is that Qingcheng is cold and aloof, while Liu Yan'er is charming, like one ice and one fire. The duet of ice and fire is simply killing me. Master Tang. Tang Lei was also intoxicated by Liu Yan'er's charm, and only came back to his senses when Liu Yan'er called him softly. "Miss Yan'er, I didn't mean to cause trouble in your place, but this couple just played a trick on me, and I just want justice." "Yeah." Liu Yan'er smiled charmingly, and suddenly looked at Qingcheng and said, "Sister, he called you a bitch." "Elder sister?" In an instant, Tang Lei's expression froze. There was an uproar all around. Who would have thought that these two extremely beautiful and rare beauties were actually sisters? It is true that birds of a feather flock together. Qingcheng drank a lot of red wine, and her cheeks were a little tipsy, but she still said in a cold tone, "Then let him slap his face." "Okay." Liu Yan'er turned around and looked at Tang Lei with a smile. "Master Tang, my sister doesn't like what you said just now, so I'll ask you to slap your face." Of course Tang Lei heard Qingcheng's words clearly, and there was no need for Liu Yan'er to repeat them, but he was a little confused. Liu Yan'er added, "If young Master Tang doesn't dare to do it, I can ask someone to do it for him, or I can talk to your father in person." Although there was always a faint smile on her lips, Tang Lei felt the aura of a queen, as if what she said was an imperial decree. No, no, I can do it myself. Tang Lei was ultimately defeated by Liu Yan'er's powerful aura. He slapped himself a few times and left in frustration. Until this moment, Liu Yan'er looked at Liu Yun carefully. Who is this? Oh, he's my boyfriend, his last name is Liu. Without waiting for Liu Yun to speak, Qingcheng answered first and gave Liu Yan'er a surprise according to her plan. There was indeed a hint of surprise in Liu Yan'er's narrow and beautiful eyes. Boyfriend. She looked at Liu Yun suspiciously. Liu Yun nodded. Liu Yan'er's expression suddenly became a little complicated. She pulled Qingcheng's hand aside and whispered, Sister, is he really your boyfriend? Are you kidding me? Qingcheng said, Don't you think he looks like someone? And they have the same last name. Liu Yan'er of course knew who Qingcheng was talking about, and persuaded her, I know you miss little Liu Yun very much, and so do I, but you can't just hand yourself over to him because he looks like him. Qingcheng didn't listen to her words at all. Instead, she blinked and said, Third sister, I want to discuss something with you. Do you remember when we were little, we promised each other that we would marry the same man when we grew up? Liu Yan'er nodded. Of course she remembered this, it was just a joke from their childhood. I have decided to marry him, so I came here this time to introduce you to him. Not only that, I will also take him to meet the other sisters in the future. Qingcheng's words were shocking, and Liu Yan'er was so frightened that her eyes widened instantly, and she hurriedly touched Qingcheng's forehead with her jade hand. Sister, you don't have a fever, do you? She couldn't believe that her elder sister would actually say such a thing. You know, her elder sister has always been a very rational person. Qingcheng ignored Liu Yan'er's surprised look and continued, I've already asked my boyfriend, and he said he doesn't mind living with the 7 of us sisters. Upon hearing this, Liu Yan'er's pretty face was immediately filled with black lines. Isn't this nonsense? We 7 sisters are so outstanding, he is so happy that he can't wait to know how to care. How could my elder sister not even understand this truth? Does being in love really lower one's IQ? Liu Yan'er felt that her elder sister had gone crazy. Since she couldn't communicate with her, she could only look for her boyfriend. However, what Liu Yan'er didn't know was that when she turned around, a sly smile suddenly appeared on Qingcheng's lips, and he gave Liu Yun a look. It seems to be saying, my play is over, now it's your turn. Liu Yun understood what he meant, and said in an extremely arrogant manner, You must be Qingcheng's third sister, right? Since Qingcheng has already told you, I won't go into details. I hope you don't be ungrateful. Who is this? Liu Yan'er gritted her teeth. This guy was a typical scumbag who took advantage of others. I think we can go upstairs and talk. Although she was angry, Liu Yan'er still maintained her queen aura and glanced at Liu Yun coldly. Of course Liu Yun would not refuse. When going upstairs, Liu Yun walked behind, silently admiring Sister Yan'er's enchanting figure. When the people below saw this scene, they were immediately envious. They didn't know what kind of luck Liu Yun had. Not only did he already have a cold goddess, but now he was even invited to the VIP room by the Rose Queen alone. It's really frustrating to compare yourself with others. The elegant VIP room has excellent sound insulation. Once the door is closed, no noise from outside can come in. But Liu Yun felt a chill. Liu Yan'er was seen sitting on the leather sofa with her legs crossed. Her bright silver high heels seemed to be emitting a cold light, and her queen aura was fully on display. Sit. Liu Yan'er said in a cold voice. Liu Yun chuckled and did not sit on the sofa opposite. Instead, he went straight to Liu Yan'er and sat down. Liu Yan'er's brows suddenly furrowed, and a hint of disgust flashed in her beautiful eyes. This scumbag is so ungrateful. If it weren't for my elder sister, I would have chopped him to pieces. Liu Yan'er thought of the past, when Chen Xiang, the playboy from the Jiangbei Chen family, relied on his powerful background to act lawless and harmed countless young girls. Finally, she couldn't stand it anymore, so she found an opportunity to turn Chen Xiang into a eunuch. If this Liu guy continues to be so ungrateful today, Liu Yan'er doesn't mind having one more eunuch in Qingcheng. Chapter 17 Liu Yan'er's killing intention. Long story short, leave my sister. You don't deserve her. As soon as Liu Yun sat down, Liu Yan'er directly changed the topic, not wanting to waste another minute with him. Liu Yun said nonchalantly, Qingcheng and I are truly in love, how can you break us up? He. Liu Yan'er sneered twice, if you really like my sister, you won't be thinking about other women at the same time. How can this be called thinking about her? I clearly love her because I love her too. You are Qingcheng's sister. I like Qingcheng, so of course I like you too. Liu Yun smiled scoundrelly and shamelessly put his arms around Liu Yan'er's slender waist. In an instant, a cold breath rushed straight into Liu Yun's legs. He quickly moved back, and when he looked down, he suddenly saw a cold dagger stuck in the sofa between his legs. Good job. If I hadn't noticed it and moved back 20 centimeters in time, the knife would have cut off my vitals. Sister Yan'er is indeed a ruthless person. While Liu Yun was feeling scared, he was also a little confused. How could an ordinary person have such skills? Liu Yun has an extraordinary identity. He has 36 visible forces. In addition, he also controls 72 dark forces, which is a hidden force. Through the 72 Anbu, he could actually find out the information of each of his sisters very easily. But he didn't. The sisters have their own privacy and Liu Yun respects them. So he didn't know that the sister Yan'er in front of him was a bar owner on the surface, but in fact she had another identity, the dreaded cold-faced killer Yi Qianwei. Night Rose. Same as the name of the bar. Because of this, it is even more impossible for people to connect Liu Yan'er and the cold-faced killer together. Because no killer would be stupid enough to reveal his identity. Let us get back to the topic. Liu Yan'er was surprised that she missed her target with her knife. She hadn't missed for a long time. Quickly pull out the dagger. Go past diagonally. The cold light instantly attacked Liu Yun's neck, but Liu Yun was prepared. He leaned back and rolled over along the back of the sofa. The sharp dagger just passed by his face, less than a centimeter away. Liu Yan'er stood up suddenly and said with hostility, "You are not an ordinary person." If Liu Yun dodged the first attack because of luck, then the second time was definitely not just luck. Liu Yan'er was not a newbie, so how could she not see Liu Yun's skills? She could even feel that Liu Yun's strength was above hers. Liu Yun smiled and said, "Girls, don't play with knives. It's dangerous." As soon as he finished speaking, his body suddenly pressed forward, and he flicked his fingers, and then a crisp, ding sound was heard. The dagger in Liu Yan'er's hand was immediately knocked away. The killer dropped his knife, which was a fatal mistake. A hint of horror flashed in Liu Yan'er's beautiful eyes, but the next second, her delicate body suddenly tensed up. Because Liu Yun suddenly opened his arms and gave her a big hug. It was a very innocent hug, but Liu Yan'er didn't understand and thought Liu Yun was taking advantage of her. Base. The cold murderous intent in Liu Yan'er's body instantly burst out. She wants this shameless man to die. But at this moment, "Sister Yan'er, it's me, little Liu Yun. I'm still alive." Liu Yun's gentle voice suddenly sounded. Suddenly, Liu Yan'er's psychological defenses suddenly collapsed, and she said in a trembling voice, What did you say?" "Third sister, he is our brother Xiao Yun, not a replacement boyfriend I found. We were just joking with you just now." At this time, Qingcheng just pushed the door and walked in. When I saw the messy scene in the box, I was shocked. She never thought that the two of them would actually fight. Fortunately, she came in time. Liu Yan'er still had some doubts. So Liu Yun told her a lot of things about his childhood and even accurately pointed out the black mole under her left breast. Liu Yan'er finally believed that her brother Liu Yun had returned. Tears of excitement burst out instantly. Liu Yan'er hugged Liu Yun tightly, even more tightly than when Liu Yun hugged her just now. Liu Yun could clearly feel that Sister Yan'er's heartbeat was so real and warm. This feeling of happiness is hard to describe. After Liu Yan'er calmed down, the three of them chatted for a long time, and 2 hours had passed without them noticing. Liu Yan'er glanced at the time and exclaimed, "Oh no! I almost forgot about Mr. Han." "What's wrong?" Liu Yun asked. "It's like this. Mr. Han invited me to visit his collection of calligraphy and paintings. The time is set at 8 o'clock. If I rush over now, it will definitely be too late. So I'm going to tell Mr. Han that I won't be going over tonight. I want to stay here and accompany you." Liu Yan'er is a calligraphy and painting enthusiast. Every time she comes back from a mission, she will practice calligraphy and painting, which can help her calm down quickly. Not long ago, Liu Yan'er met Mr. Han. Mr. Han is a well-known collector of calligraphy and painting. He has invited many calligraphy and painting enthusiasts to visit his collection. The time is set at 8 o'clock tonight. Liu Yan'er was among the invited guests. Just as she was about to call Mr. Han to explain the situation, Liu Yan suddenly said, "Sister Yan'er, let me go with you. Are you also interested in calligraphy and painting?" Liu Yan'er asked. "Yeah." Liu Yan nodded. "I also paint a few strokes occasionally, just for my own amusement." From the age of 5 until he was 15, he stayed in a Taoist temple in the mountains. He had no form of entertainment. Apart from practicing the skills taught by the old Taoist priest every day, the most relaxing thing for him was painting. So I can be considered a half calligraphy and painting enthusiast. After hearing what Liu Yan said, Liu Yan'er did not turn down Mr. Han's invitation, but told him that she might arrive late. Mr. Han was very generous and said it was okay. Then, the three of them left the VIP room together. Liu Yan walked in the middle, Sister Qingcheng on the left, and Sister Yan'er on the right, each holding his arm. Such a shocking scene, one can imagine how much impact it would have on others. If he could get one of these two peerless beauties, he would wake up laughing in his dreams. But Liu Yan wanted both of them. Damn, this is too greedy, right? What was most unexpected to everyone was that when the Rose Queen took Liu Yan upstairs, her face was clearly cold. But after these 2 hours, she seemed like a different person, and her attitude towards Liu Yan was as intimate as possible. What happened in these 2 hours? Suddenly, everyone's faces changed, as if they had guessed something. 2 hours. No wonder. Everyone felt inferior to him. Chapter 18 Master Yinlu. Qingcheng was not interested in calligraphy and painting, so she went back first. On their way to Han's house, Liu Yan'er was extremely excited because according to Mr. Han, he had just photographed an authentic painting by Master Yinlu and would display it tonight. Liu Yan asked curiously, "Is Master Yinlu very powerful?" "Of course it's amazing. Master Yinlu is a master of freehand painting and calligraphy. Each of his paintings only has a few strokes, but they are able to express a very wonderful artistic conception. Moreover, this Master Yinlu is extremely mysterious. It is said that no one has ever seen his true appearance." When talking about Master Yinlu, Liu Yan'er immediately turned into a crazy little fangirl and talked incessantly. Master Yinlu is her idol. Liu Yan felt a little jealous and curled his lips and said, "I want to see how powerful Master Yinlu is and whether he deserves your love." Hearing what he said, Liu Yan'er suddenly looked strange. "Little Liu Yan, are you jealous?" Liu Yan turned his head away and did not answer. Liu Yan'er smiled and consoled him, "Okay, Xiao Liu Yan, don't be jealous. I only like Master Yinlu's works, not him himself. Maybe he is actually an old man in his 70s or 80s. That's more like it." Liu Yan's expression looked better now, but he had a strange feeling in his heart. His feelings towards his sisters are very complicated. He likes them for sure, but he doesn't know what type of love it is. If he only regarded them as sisters, then why did he feel a little uncomfortable when Sister Yan'er said that she liked someone else? But if it wasn't the affection between siblings, then how should the 7 sisters handle this relationship? Did he really have to let all 7 sisters marry him? This was too overbearing, and Liu Yan even looked down on himself. After a lot of thinking, the Han family arrived. The butler stood at the door to greet him. "Miss Liu, the master specifically asked me to wait for you here, please follow me." The two followed the butler to an antique attic, which was specially built by Mr. Han to collect calligraphy and paintings. When we entered the attic, there were already quite a few people inside. "Har har, Miss Liu, please come in quickly." I saw an old man with a bright spirit and a white beard coming towards me with a smile on his face. "He is Mr. Han." Liu Yan'er took the initiative to introduce, "Mr. Han, this is my younger brother, Liu Yan." "Mr. Liu, welcome." Mr. Han was very friendly and gave Liu Yan a kind smile. Liu Yan also responded politely. "Miss Liu, I know you like Master Yinlu, so I waited for you to come before showing you Master Yinlu's works." As Mr. Han spoke, he led the two of them toward the exhibition hall. Liu Yan'er was flattered and said, "Thank you, Mr. Han. Soon, enter the showroom." Immediately, several displeased glances came over. I heard a greasy-haired man snort coldly. I was wondering who was so arrogant. It turns out to be Miss Liu from the Night Rose Bar. "But this is an elegant place, not a place where you can just shake your butt casually." His words were full of sarcasm, especially the word "miss," which he emphasized very strongly. There were also a few sneers from the surroundings. They were all looking forward to viewing Master Yinlu's works, and naturally they were unhappy that Liu Yan'er had made them wait for so long. take this opportunity to make a few remarks. Old Han frowned and said, Zhu Rong, how can you talk like that? We are all calligraphy and painting enthusiasts, we should put aside professional factors and live in harmony. I'm sorry, Mr. Han. It's not that I don't give you face, but I'm not used to being in the same room with animals with sharp beaks. Zhu Rong's words became more and more outrageous. The so-called animal with a pointed beak means the chicken. There was a flash of coldness in Liu Yan'er's eyes, but before she could react, Liu Yan stepped forward and slapped Zhu Rong, sending him flying. He would never allow anyone to insult his sister. Even if Jesus came, it wouldn't work. Moreover, with his outstanding medical skills, Liu Yan had already figured out that Sister Yan'er was still a virgin. The charm she displayed must have been a disguise. Therefore, Liu Yan would not allow them to slander Sister Yan'er's innocence. How dare you hit me? Zhu Rong got up from the ground in a panic, rolled up his sleeves and prepared to settle accounts with Liu Yan, but at this moment he suddenly heard a cold shout, apologize to Miss Liu and Mr. Han. The speaker was Zhu Rong's father Zhu Hongyuan. Both father and son are calligraphy and painting enthusiasts, and they were invited to visit Mr. Han's collection today. Dad. Apologize. Or get out of here. Zhu Hongyuan gave the order in a tone that brooked no room for argument. Zhu Rong gritted his teeth. Although he was unwilling, he still apologized, Miss Liu, I'm sorry. Mr. Han, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have caused trouble. The person next to him immediately tried to smooth things over. Calm down, everyone. We are here today for Master Yinlu. We are not talking about personal grudges. Yes, harmony brings wealth. Mr. Han, please quickly bring out Master Yinlu's paintings for us to see. We have been looking forward to it for a long time. Seeing that everyone was so impatient, Mr. Han didn't keep the audience in suspense and turned around to pull out a scroll painting from the many collections. Expand. Suddenly everyone's eyes lit up and they exclaimed, it is indeed the work of Master Yinlu. Master Yinlu's works are distinctive, usually using the simplest brushstrokes to depict the most profound artistic conception. Everyone only needs to take one look to know that this is the original work of Master Yinlu, and it cannot be imitated. Liu Yan'er's eyes also lit up, but she didn't notice that Liu Yan, who was standing next to her, had a strange expression on his face. Isn't he this what I drew when I was 13? Liu Yan clearly remembered that one day when he was 13 years old, he finished practicing and was bored. He happened to see an eagle perched above his head, so he drew it with a simple pen. What impressed him most was that he accidentally dropped the red juice on the eagle's head. The painting that Mr. Han showed at this moment clearly had red marks on it. This shows that this painting was indeed created by Liu Yan. Liu Yan. Liu Yan understood something instantly. When he first painted these pictures, it was purely for his own amusement. He threw them away after he was done and didn't take them seriously at all. The old Taoist priest must have secretly taken these paintings down the mountain and fabricated a Master Yinlu who did not exist at all. It is true that even though I have not yet entered the world, there is already a legend about me in this world. Old Taoist master, you are simply a marketing genius. Chapter 19, Superfluous. Mr. Han was all smiles. He is not a vain person, but when he sees the envious expressions on everyone's faces, he still feels a little proud. He took great pains to get this authentic work of Master Yinlu. Now it seems worth it. The name of this work is Eagle Perched on a Tree. What do you think after reading it? Asked Mr. Han with a smile. Someone immediately responded, this painting follows the simple style of Master Yinlu, with distinct features. With only a few strokes, one can tell at a glance that this is an eagle and this is a tree. Old Han nodded, most paintings only focus on the form but lose the spirit, but Master Yinlu's works have both form and spirit, which is why it is difficult for ordinary people to imitate. Everyone expressed their agreement. Then several more people expressed their opinions. Zhu Rong also thought for a moment and then said, I think this painting actually reflects Master Yinlu's state of mind. Oh? Why do you say that? Everyone became interested. Zhu Rong cleared his throat and said, look at this tree. Although there are not many words, it seems to be a shadow, representing the current predicament. Look at this eagle again. It looks like it is perching on a tree, but in fact, it is expressing helplessness. Is there any eagle that doesn't want to fly high? But it has no choice, so it is forced to land on the treetops. This is a kind of helplessness. Then, here comes the key point. There is a red mark on the eagle's head, which forms a sharp contrast with the grey tone of the entire painting. What does it mean? It means that the eagle is unwilling to give up and is eager to fly into the blue sky again. So my final conclusion is that this painting reflects Master Yinlu's current situation. This should be a work created during the low point of Master Yinlu's life. After Zhu Rong finished his speech, the audience was silent for a moment, followed by warm applause. The explanation was very thorough. It's simply the worm in Master Yinlu's stomach. Old Han also praised you highly, saying, if Master Yinlu heard your analysis, he would definitely regard you as a close friend. Then he looked at Zhu Hongyuan again and said with a smile, Old Zhu, your son is really better than you. Zhu Hongyuan said proudly, Har har, I've said long ago that this kid has a bright future. It's because I've cultivated him well. I've instilled a lot of calligraphy and painting knowledge in him since he was a child. He is really not humble at all. There were constant exclamations of praise all around, and even Liu Yun couldn't help but applaud Zhu Rong. I didn't think about so many things when I drew this picture myself, but you managed to analyze them all. You're really talented. Zhu Rong couldn't help but smile proudly as he listened to the praises from the seniors around him. He suddenly glanced at Liu Yan'er and said, I wonder what Miss Liu thinks of this painting. From the moment Liu Yan'er entered the door, Zhu Rong showed hostility because he felt that Liu Yan'er was not worthy of being here at all. A prostitute knows nothing about calligraphy and painting. Zhu Rong asked the question deliberately because he wanted to see Liu Yan'er make a fool of herself. Everyone's eyes instantly shifted to Liu Yan'er. Old Han smiled and encouraged, It's okay, Miss Liu. There are 1,000 Hamlets for 1,000 readers. It's okay to express your feelings. Let's communicate with each other. Liu Yan'er nodded and said, I am also a loyal fan of Master Yinlu, so I am very happy to see this painting today. This painting is indeed in Master Yinlu's usual style. Don't talk nonsense, just get to the point. Zhu Rong interrupted impatiently, What style of painting? Someone has already talked about it before, there is no need for you to repeat it. Don't be anxious, Xiao Zhu. Let Miss Liu finish speaking first, said Old Han. Because Zhu Rong performed well just now, Mr. Han had a good impression of him, so he directly called him Xiao Zhu. Even though Zhu Rong's interruption was very impolite, Mr. Han did not scold him. Liu Yan'er frowned, but continued what she had just said, This painting of eagle perched on a tree is excellent overall, but I think that red mark is a flaw. Liu Yan'er expressed her thoughts. She also felt strange. It was obviously a perfect painting, so why did Master Yinlu add one more stroke? This is not like Master Yinlu's usual style at all. When Liu Yun heard this, a smile appeared on his lips. Sister Yan'er still understands herself. Because the red mark was not painted on at all, but was the juice that accidentally dripped on it when I was eating red berries. However, when the people around heard this, their faces changed instantly. Zhu Hongyuan scolded loudly, You are simply talking nonsense. Master Yinlu's works cannot possibly have any unnecessary words. Many people also expressed their dissatisfaction. Master Yinlu is their idol and they will never allow anyone to slander him. This woman actually dared to say that Master Yinlu was adding unnecessary details. Isn't she asking for trouble? Zhu Rong sneered, I've said it before, how could a woman like this possibly understand painting? Inviting her here would simply ruin our fun. Mr. Han also looked displeased. Although he said that he wanted everyone to express their opinions, what he really wanted to hear was praise from different perspectives, not criticism. Liu Yan'er's comments made Old Han very unhappy, and he didn't even look at her well afterwards. Liu Yan'er naturally noticed the change in Mr. Han's attitude and was filled with disappointment. I thought it was really an exchange meeting for calligraphy and painting enthusiasts, but I didn't expect it to be full of a bunch of flatterers, even Mr. Han was no exception. You shouldn't have come tonight. Liu Yan'er wanted to leave immediately, but Liu Yun pulled her back and said, Wait a little longer. Liu Yun has never been one to suffer losses. How could he be willing to leave when these people dared to bully Sister Yan'er like this? It seems that it is time to reveal the identity of Master Yinlu. Just as Liu Yun was thinking about how to reveal his identity, the next scene made him change his mind. Chapter 20 Fake Painting. Mr. Han, after seeing so many of your collections, how about taking a look at mine? Seeing that they had almost finished viewing Mr. Han's collection, Zhu Hongyuan suddenly said this. Everyone looked at him. Old Han was surprised. Old Zhu, did you bring any collections with you? Zhu Hongyuan smiled, turned to Zhu Rong and said, "Go get it." Zhu Rong nodded, left for a moment, and soon returned to the exhibition hall with a scroll. This is a painting by Jiyu Kaiji, a famous artist from the Eastern Jin dynasty. Although its quality is not as good as that of Master Yanlu, it is very old and has a high collection value. Zhu Hongyuan introduced and spread out the scroll at the same time. Suddenly, a magnificent landscape painting came into view of everyone. It is indeed the work of Jiyu Kaiji. Everyone was amazed. But just as Zhu Hongyuan was enjoying the envious looks from those around him, he suddenly heard a voice saying, "Don't bring out a fake painting to embarrass yourself." Zhu Hongyuan's smile froze. "Look." When he realized the person speaking was Liu Yun, his face instantly darkened. "What did you say, little brat?" "I said, this is a fake painting." "Fake painting? Are you kidding?" Zhu Rong was even angrier than his father. He said angrily, "If this is a fake painting, do you think we can't tell it? Or do you think your appreciation level is higher than all of us here?" His words successfully focused everyone's hatred on Liu Yun. "None of us could tell that this was a fake painting, but you did. Doesn't that mean that your level is higher than ours?" Everyone looked at Liu Yun with hostility in an instant. "I really don't know where this grasshopper came from. It's so keen on seeking a sense of existence." Old Han also said with a sullen face, "If you two are here to cause trouble on purpose, please leave immediately. You are not welcome here." He never gets angry easily, but tonight, he was really angry. First, Liu Yan'er randomly criticized Master Yanlu's authentic works, and now Liu Yun has jumped out, pointing at Zhu Hongyuan's collections and saying they are fake paintings. If this isn't looking for trouble, what is? No matter how good-tempered Mr. Han was, he could no longer tolerate the two of them and ordered them to leave on the spot. Liu Yun sneered and said, "A fake painting is a fake painting. No matter how anxious you are, it is still fake. If you can't see it, it only shows that you are rubbish." "What? You dare to call us trash? Who do you think you are? You bastard, you barely have any hair, but you're so arrogant. Young people today really lack education. That's enough." Suddenly, Bosun shouted, pointing at Liu Yun and the other man, "You two, get out right now. What a bunch of black fish. I find it smelly if we stay here. Sister Yan'er, let's go." Liu Yun took Liu Yan'er's hand and prepared to leave, but at this moment, Zhu Hongyuan's voice suddenly sounded behind him, "Stop. Your father needs help." Liu Yun turned around and looked at Zhu Hongyuan coldly. Zhu Hongyuan's nose almost became crooked with anger, and he gritted his teeth and said, "How dare you slander my collection as a fake painting? If you don't give me an explanation, I will tear your mouth apart." "You want an explanation, right? It's simple." Liu Yun sneered, suddenly strode towards the painting of Jiyu Kaiji, picked up a cup of hot tea and poured it on it. "What are you doing?" Zhu Rong roared and rushed forward to fight with Liu Yun, but the next second, he was stunned. Liu Yun pinched the edge of the wet rice paper and rubbed it, and the rice paper separated instantly. Mezzanine. Everyone who saw this scene had their hearts skipped a beat, and they probably already knew what was going on. Liu Yun said sarcastically, 2 layers of rice paper. The bottom layer is a fake, and the top layer is used to make it look old. You can't even see such an obvious interlayer, and you still say it's not garbage." Everyone's faces froze. I was very angry, but I couldn't refute it. It was their fault for making such a mistake. Liu Yan'er also showed a surprised expression. She originally thought that Liu Yun was deliberately trying to disgust these people by saying that it was a fake, but she didn't expect that it really was a fake painting. It's so satisfying to see these people getting humiliated. At this moment, Zhu Hongyuan suddenly rushed forward and snatched the painting, saying in grief, "My 3 million. He spent 3 million to buy this painting, and was planning to show it off in front of everyone tonight, but who knew that he actually bought a fake painting?" Zhu Hongyuan's heart was bleeding. However, what made him vomit blood was yet to come. Because of the tea, a line of small words slowly appeared on the edge of the rice paper: "Whoever buys it is an idiot." Puff. Zhu Hongyuan was so angry that he fell to the ground, his whole body twitching and his face as red as a date. Zhu Rong shouted anxiously, "Dad! What's wrong with you, Dad? Doctor Who, come and see what's wrong with my dad." A middle-aged man wearing round glasses came out. His name is Hu Weiping. He is also a calligraphy and painting enthusiast. He is a doctor by profession and currently works as the chief physician of the acupuncture department at Jiangcheng Traditional Chinese Medicine Hospital. After examining Zhu Hongyuan's condition, Hu Weiping's expression became more serious. Your father was too emotional, which caused the liver yarn to transform into wind, disturbing the clear orifices, thus causing a stroke. The situation is very critical. Then, what should we do? There is no hospital nearby. Zhu Rong was instantly panicked. Hu Weiping thought for a moment and said, my teacher once taught me a set of needle techniques, which may come in handy, but I'm not sure. Dr. Hu, please give it a try. My father's life is in your hands. Zhu Rong pleaded. I'll try my best. Hu Weiping nodded, then took out several 10-centimeter long needles from his portable needle bag. Acupoints, Neiguan, Zhichuan, Chei's, Weizhong. Watching Hu Weiping giving acupuncture, Liu Yun was slightly surprised, but quickly shook his head. That's not how you use the 9-turn yarn returning needle. Liu Yun recognized at a glance that Hu Weiping was performing the 9-turn Huiyang acupuncture method, but there were obvious mistakes in the acupuncture points he selected. Liu Yun kindly reminded him, but Zhu Rong suddenly turned around and yelled at him. Just shut up. If it weren't for you, my dad wouldn't have fainted. Stop crying wolf here. If anything happens to my dad, I will make sure you suffer the consequences. Chapter 21. A group of blind and pedant people. The hateful gaze pierced me. Not only Zhu Rong, but also all the calligraphy and painting enthusiasts present, including Mr. Han. It seemed that they blamed Liu Yun for all the reasons for Zhu Hongyuan's illness. It was all because of him that an originally perfect calligraphy and painting exchange event was ruined. And that damn woman Liu Yan'er. In future calligraphy and painting exchanges, these two people should be completely eliminated and put on the blacklist forever. Ahem. Suddenly a cough was heard, and Zhu Hongyuan woke up, with the reddish color on his face faded. Everyone then breathed a sigh of relief. Hu Weiping put away the needles and said coldly, just now, I seemed to hear someone brazenly questioning my medical skills. He had heard what Liu Yun said a long time ago, but because he was giving acupuncture and was distracted, he did not refute him immediately. Now, Zhu Hongyuan is awake. Hu Weiping finally had time to scold Liu Yun. His professional level will never be questioned by anyone. The people around were already dissatisfied with Liu Yun, and when they saw Hu Weiping picking a fight with him, they all showed expressions of gloating. Didn't you say that Hu Weiping's acupuncture method was wrong? Now that Zhu Hongwei has woken up, let us see how you explain it. Face, does it hurt? Liu Yun ignored the mocking looks from the crowd and said calmly, within 3 days, Zhu Hongyuan will faint again and bleed from all 7 orifices. He will die within 5 days. Just now, when Hu Weiping was giving acupuncture, Liu Yun saw it clearly. The wrong acupuncture method suppressed Zhu Hongyuan's surging qi and blood, which only blocked it but did not release it. This method would definitely cause a more violent backlash. If nothing unexpected happens, Zhu Hongyuan will fall ill again within 3 days, and it will be more serious than today. As soon as Liu Yun said this, Zhu Rong roared with red eyes, you bastard, you dare to curse my father, I will fight you. He rushed towards Liu Yun angrily. But at this time, Liu Yun's eyes suddenly turned cold. He glanced at him and said, if you want to die, just try it. Zhu Rong's body shook. The steps that were about to rush forward froze instantly. He was frightened by Liu Yun's momentum. Waste. Liu Yun was too lazy to waste time with them anymore, so he turned around and left. Before leaving, he glanced at Old Han. You are a bunch of blind and pedantic people. It is a shame for Master Yanu to have admirers like you. After saying that, he took Liu Yan'er's hand and strode out of the Han family, making everyone so angry that their noses were snorting. On their way back, Liu Yan'er's beautiful eyes moved as she kept looking at Liu Yun. Liu Yun smiled bitterly and said, Sister Yan'er, why are you looking at me like that? Is there something written on my face? Little Liu Yun, you were so domineering just now. I like you so much. Liu Yan'er smiled coquettishly, and suddenly, she held Liu Yun's face and kissed him. Liu Yun's thick skin, which was as thick as steel, turned a little red, which was rare. Liu Yan'er said carelessly, don't think wrongly, sister is just too happy. Liu Yun smiled bitterly in his heart, you are my sister, how dare I think of anything wrong? When the two returned to Green Villa, it was almost 11 o'clock in the evening. Usually, Liu Yan'er, like her other sisters, chooses to live near her workplace for the convenience of work. Only Qingcheng, whose company is close by, would live in Green Villa all the time. Now that Liu Yun is back, Liu Yan'er is also planning to come back and live with them. At worst, she will have to travel a little further to work the next day. Why are you back so late? When the two returned to the villa, Qingcheng was still awake. She had finished her shower and was wearing a translucent gauze nightgown with the lace hem just covering her thighs. A pair of snow-white and smooth legs are exposed to the air, as if they are the most perfect masterpiece in the world. Liu Yun kept his eyes straight ahead and kept himself positive at all times. However, the next second Qingcheng suddenly widened her eyes and said, "Little Liu Yun, there's something wrong with your face." There was still a bright red lip mark on Liu Yun's left cheek, which he had forgotten to wipe off. Liu Yan'er said guiltily, "Hey, sister, I'm going to take a shower first." Qingcheng understood instantly, and her eyes became somewhat resentful, as if she was jealous. "Be fair and give me your right cheek instead of forcing me to do it myself." Qingcheng is extremely domineering. The next day, the sisters all went to work. Liu Yun made a phone call. Of course, what happened last night is not over. Liu Yun must make those self-righteous guys apologize to Sister Yan'er sincerely. Soon, an exciting piece of news spread rapidly in Qingcheng. This Tuesday, Dongjing Auction House will open, and a new work by Master Yunlu will be unveiled. As soon as this news came out, the entire collecting community in Qingcheng was in an uproar. Master Yunlu's new work. As we all know, Master Yunlu has not released any new works for many years. In addition, his whereabouts are mysterious, and countless people have speculated whether he has passed away. Now, the new work is released. This means that Master Yunlu is still alive. It is conceivable how shocking this news was to people in the calligraphy and painting circles. Mr. Han, Zhu Hongyuan and his son, as well as Hu Weiping and others were ecstatic and immediately ordered tickets to Dongjing Auction House online. Not only in Qingcheng, famous collectors in other cities were also scrambling to buy the tickets, and they were quickly sold out. Liu Yan'er was busy with social engagements, and by the time she saw the message, the tickets had already been sold out. She was depressed for a long time because of this. It was not until they returned to Green Villa in the evening that Liu Yun suddenly and mysteriously pulled her into the small room. "Sister Yan'er, what do you think this is?" "An admission ticket to the Dongjing Auction House." "Oh. Little Liu Yun, I love you so much." Liu Yan'er completely turned into a little fangirl, with all her queen aura gone. She pressed Liu Yun's cheek and gave him another sweet kiss. As luck would have it, this scene was seen by Qingcheng again. Then, two symmetrical lip prints appeared on Liu Yun's cheeks again. What Liu Yun actually wanted to say was, "Sisters, I'm grown up now, and you can't kiss my face as casually as you did before." So annoying. Chapter 22 New Works by Master Yunlu. Tuesday. Dongjing Auction House. At first glance, the place was crowded with people and every seat was occupied. This kind of grand occasion is probably only possible at the concert of superstar Jay Chou. Master Yunlu is the superstar in the calligraphy and painting world. Liu Yan'er was flattered and said, "Little Liu Yun, how did you get this position?" When Liu Yan'er got the ticket yesterday, she was so excited that she didn't pay attention to the seat number. It wasn't until today when I arrived at the scene that I realized that this was an absolute C position. Whether it is lighting, vision, or seat comfort, everything is adjusted to the best. In the past, those who sat in this seat were all well-known collectors in the calligraphy and painting circles. Ordinary people were not qualified to sit here. Liu Yan'er could already feel countless eyes looking at her, as if they were wondering which famous collector she was. Liu Yun said calmly, "Maybe I'm lucky." "Are you kidding me?" Liu Yan'er rolled her eyes at him and said, "You're so lucky that you can even buy a lottery ticket." Liu Yan'er didn't believe that she was lucky enough to buy two best seats with consecutive numbers. Moreover, she heard that this row of seats were reserved by the auction house and were not for sale at all. Liu Yun must be lying. However, in response to Liu Yan'er's question, Liu Yun just smiled and said nothing. Liu Yan'er had no choice but to wait until the auction was over and then drag him to the bed to interrogate him in detail. At this moment, in the last row of seats, there were several gloomy eyes staring at the backs of the two. These were the people who had attended Mr. Han's collection exhibition the night before and had been offended by Liu Yun. Zhu Rong snorted coldly, "You don't mind your butt getting hot when you sit in that kind of seat, humph." As he said this, he moved his buttocks a little painfully. "What kind of rubbish stool is this, with long nails on it?" Everyone. At this time, the host came on stage, made a cliché opening speech, and then began to display the auction items. The first few auction items were just small-time items, and the crowd was not very interested. Everyone was waiting for the finale. Finally, after several rounds of auction items, the host said, "The item to be auctioned next is the new work of Master Yunlu that everyone has been waiting for." Wow! The whole audience was boiling. Those enthusiastic calligraphy and painting collectors are already itching to get their hands on the pieces and can't help but raise their placards to bid. A sexy girl in cool clothes walked onto the stage carrying the auction items. The host deliberately kept the audience in suspense and said, "I'm sure everyone is curious about what Master Yunlu's new work is. I think you will be surprised when you see it. Please stop talking nonsense and show it quickly." Everyone wailed. The host smiled and delayed for a while. Seeing that everyone was getting impatient, he let the sexy girl lift the red cloth. The auction item finally revealed its true appearance. However, when photographers saw this painting, they were all stunned. The painting was indeed created by Master Yunlu, but isn't this the painting of an eagle perched on a tree? Someone recognized it immediately. What the sexy girl showed was the eagle perched on a tree, which had been on the market for a long time. It's obviously an old work, how can it be said to be a new one? Is Dongjing Auction House also starting to use this kind of gimmick? You are committing fraud. This is too much. HMPH, although I'm not happy about it, I've decided to take the picture of eagle perched on a tree. Many people expressed their dissatisfaction. They were not dissatisfied with eagle perched on a tree, but with the fraudulent behavior of Dongjing Auction House. Because even if the auction house didn't use the gimmick of Master Yunlu's new work, they would still come to support it. But he clearly mentioned a new work, but he took out an old painting, which was a bit like playing with everyone's emotions. As a loyal fan of Master Yunlu, I will definitely be disappointed. But when Mr. Han saw this painting, his heart suddenly trembled. Wasn't he this painting of eagle perched on a tree collected by me? How did it appear here? Could it be that the painting in my collection is a fake? Or was your house robbed? Mr. Han suddenly felt uneasy. However, facing many indignant photographers, the host was not panicked at all, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, this painting is indeed eagle perched on a tree, but it is also a new work of Master Yunlu." What do you mean? Everyone was puzzled. Don't you find that this painting of an eagle perched on a tree is different from the previous ones? The host's words made everyone think deeply, and they all looked at the painting with wide eyes. I can see it. It's the red mark on the eagle's head that's gone. When everyone heard this, they found that it was true. There are actually many photos of this painting, eagle perched on a tree, circulating on the internet, so most calligraphy and painting enthusiasts have seen it. The items displayed by the sexy girl at this time were indeed different from those circulated on the internet. The host said, "As you can see, this painting is actually a corrected version of eagle perched on a tree." Because the red mark on the previous work was a mistake, Master Yunlu felt that he couldn't be so perfunctory, so he redrew it. With this explanation, the photographers felt much more comfortable. I told you, Dongjing Auction House has plenty of confidence, there's no need to hype it up. In fact, I have long felt that the red mark on the previous version was a bit abrupt. It was indeed not Master Yunlu's original intention. Master Yunlu is really responsible. In order to appease us fans, he even redrew a new version. I will be a fan of Master Yunlu for the rest of my life. Yes, Master Yunlu is my parents. Liu Yun, that's not necessary. Liu Yan'er excitedly put her arms around Liu Yun's neck and said, "I really got it right, little Liu Yun, hurry up and praise your sister." Liu Yun smiled and said, "Sister Yan'er is awesome." However, in sharp contrast to everyone else, the expressions of the people in the last row were truly amazing. Zhu Rong, in particular, looked uglier than if he had eaten feces. It was a pity that he had given such a lot of analysis that night, and even Old Han praised him as the worm in Master Yunlu's stomach. He didn't expect that he would be slapped in the face like this. Chapter 23, Blooming, the Rose of the Golden Age. The new version of Eagle Perched on a Tree was eventually bought by a wealthy businessman from the provincial capital for 8 million yuan. Liu Yun called him an expert in his heart. It turns out that the things I casually drew are really so valuable. I wonder how much the old Taoist master made from this. Liu Yun finally believed that he was the one in a million genius in calligraphy and painting. Just when everyone thought the auction was over and was about to leave, the host said, "Don't worry, everyone. Today, our auction house has prepared a surprise for you." Surprise? Is there anything more surprising than the new version of Eagle perched on a tree? Everyone immediately became very interested. The sexy girl on the stage walked off the stage twisting her hips, and when she came back on stage, she was replaced by a middle-aged man. The crowd was shocked. Because this middle-aged man was none other than Sun Tianlei, the big boss of Dongxing Auction House. At this moment, he personally walked onto the stage carrying an auction item. Now everyone's interest was even stronger, and they wanted to see what it was. It was even more precious than the eagle perched on a tree. Their host smiled and said, "In fact, this is also a new work by Master Yanlu, and it is an unprecedented and shocking work." Wow! The whole house cheered. It turns out that Mr. Yanlu painted more than one work. Those photographers who were upset about not being able to grab the eagle perched on a tree have rekindled their hope. Everyone, watch out. This time it was Sun Tianlei who spoke. He did not keep the audience in suspense, but directly lifted the red cloth to reveal this new work. Suddenly, boom! Everyone was shocked. Everyone's heart felt as if it had been hit hard by a huge hammer. Just see. On the rice paper, there was a rose, a pink, peerless rose that was about to bloom. However, this is not the most amazing thing. The most amazing thing is that the rose will produce a strange visual change if you stare at it for only 10 seconds. The rose that was originally in bud seemed to come to life in an instant and bloomed charmingly. What a strong visual impact! Everyone's soul seemed to tremble at this moment. There are many visual masters in this world, and their works can often bring people unexpected visual effects. One of the most famous paintings is that when you look at it forward, it is an old woman, but when you look at it backward, it turns into a young girl. These are world-class works that require extremely high painting skills to create. However, this work by Master Yanlu is even more advanced, as it can actually turn a static painting into something alive. In just 10 seconds, one can experience the entire process of a beautiful rose flower, from bud to bloom. This is simply a masterpiece. It is conceivable that 100 years after Master Yanlu's death, the value of this painting will definitely be estimated in billions. Shock. Unprecedented shock. Sun Tianlei introduced, the name of this painting is Rose in the Prosperous Era. He had just finished speaking. Immediately, the wealthy businessman who had won the eagle perched on a tree stood up and said, "No need to bid. I'll pay 20 million for this work." 20 million. Everyone was shocked. Rich people are so generous that they didn't even ask the starting price and directly took out 20 million to invest. Another wealthy businessman stood up and said, "I'll pay 30 million. 30 million. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. They would call this behavior crazy, that they directly increased the price based on tens of millions. There were actually many billionaires at the scene. They did not bid in the previous session because although the painting, Eagle Perched on a Tree, was a new work, there was already an original version, so the maximum price was only 8 million. In fact, the collectible value of the new version is not as great as that of the old version, just like the misprinted monkey stamp is more valuable than the normal printed version. But this painting, Rose in the Prosperous Age, is different. It is a masterpiece that shocked the world, and 20 million is just its reserve price. Rich businessmen rushed in and in the blink of an eye, the price reached 80 million, and it was still increasing, with signs of breaking 100 million. The ordinary calligraphy and painting enthusiasts at the scene could only stare in astonishment and could not say a word. At this time, Sun Tianlei suddenly pressed his palm and said, "This painting is just for display to everyone. It is not an item for auction today. Boss Sun, we are all regular customers of Dongxing Auction House. It's really not fair of you to do this." Everyone expressed their dissatisfaction. How could they not understand the auction house's routine? They would definitely display their works first to whet everyone's appetite, and then wait for the news to spread. It wouldn't be long before famous collectors from all over the country would rush here. By then, the painting will be auctioned for a sky-high price. Sun Tianlei shook his head and smiled bitterly. This is not what our auction house meant, but what Master Yanlu meant. He also wanted to sell this work, so that they could make a lot of money just from the commission. However, when Prince Nanjiang handed the painting to him, he said that this work was only given away and not sold, and it was said that this was the intention of Master Yanlu himself, and Prince Nanjiang was just conveying it on his behalf. Hearing him say this, everyone bowed their heads in regret. Suddenly, Sun Tianlei looked at Liu Yan'er and said with a smile, "Miss Liu, please come to the stage." Me? Liu Yan'er was stunned for a moment, not understanding why Sun Tianlei suddenly called her. Liu nodded and said, "Yes, Sister Yan'er, he is calling you, hurry up." After confirming Sun Tianlei's gaze again, Liu Yan'er finally walked onto the stage, her beautiful eyes full of confusion. The people below were also confused. At this time, Sun Tianlei said respectfully, "Miss Liu, King Nanjiang has instructed that this painting, Rose in the Prosperous Age, was painted by Master Yinlu specifically for you. Please accept it." As he said this, he presented the painting to Liu Yan'er. Chapter 24 9 Turn Yarn Restoring Needle. Silence. Deathly silence. Then there was thunderous applause. The look in everyone's eyes when they looked at Liu Yan'er was not only envy but also respect. Yes, respect. Master Yinlu is their idol, and Liu Yan'er is the only one who has received a painting specially customized by Master Yinlu, and it is such a world-famous masterpiece. This shows that in the eyes of Master Yinlu, this woman is of extraordinary significance. So, how dare they disrespect Liu Yan'er? This also explains why Liu Yan'er, a stranger with such a strange face, is qualified to sit in the VIP seat. It turns out that everything was arranged by Master Yinlu. At this moment, Liu Yan'er was standing on the auction table, holding the gift painting from Master Yinlu in both hands, her delicate body trembling slightly. She couldn't believe that Master Yinlu would customize a painting just for her. How could I have deserved this? At this moment, Liu Yan'er is no longer the charming Rose Queen, nor is she the cold-faced killer Yi Qianwei. She is just an ordinary star-chasing girl favored by her idol. At the same time, she is also Liu Yun's most respected third sister, Liu Yan'er. Of course, all this was arranged by Liu Yun. The night before yesterday, Sister Yan'er was upset at Mr. Han's house. Those pedantic people thought that Sister Yan'er was not qualified to integrate into their circle. Okay. Then I won't fit into your circle. I will personally create a feast for you to open your eyes and see who is the real top star. For a time, countless well-known collectors took the initiative to show their goodwill to Liu Yan'er and invited her to visit their calligraphy and painting collections. There was even a wealthy businessman who offered billions to buy the Rose in Prosperous Times in Liu Yan'er's hand, but was rejected by Liu Yan'er. The wealthy businessman was not angry, but handed out his business card with some regret, hoping to make friends with Liu Yan'er. The purpose of their doing this was simply to get to know Master Yinlu through Liu Yan'er. Because in their opinion, Liu Yan'er must know Master Yinlu, and be very familiar with him, otherwise Master Yinlu would not have painted specifically for her. From today onwards, I'm afraid all calligraphy and painting enthusiasts will remember the name Liu Yan'er and remember that she is a very important person to Master Yinlu. Old Han, Hu Weiping, and Zhu Hongyuan, father and son, could only stand far away from the crowd, looking at Liu Yan'er surrounded by countless famous collectors, feeling extremely sad. Originally, they had the best chance to get to know Master Yinlu, but in the end, they squandered such a great opportunity. Thinking of this, the people in their circle all cast angry looks at Zhu Rong. It's all this bastard's fault. If he hadn't targeted Miss Liu that night, we would have been in touch with Master Yinlu long ago. You are just the worms in Master Yinlu's stomach, and you are just the maggots in a shit pit. Plop. Zhu Hongyuan regretted it too late. Suddenly his body twitched and he fell to the ground. His entire face turned red again. Dad! Zhu Rong yelled. Hu Weiping reacted immediately, took out his needle bag and gave Zhu Hongyuan acupuncture using the same technique as the night before. However, this time, Zhu Hongyuan not only did not wake up, but he convulsed even more violently, and even blood began to gush out of his 7 orifices. How could this happen? Tell me, how could this happen? Zhu Rong grabbed Hu Weiping by the collar and yelled loudly. Hu Weiping was also panicked. He had never encountered such a situation before. I don't know either. The acupuncture was clearly effective the night before yesterday, so why is it that today? I'll call my teacher right now. Call your mom and wait for your teacher to come over. My dad will be dead by then. Zhu Rong angrily punched Hu Weiping, knocking his glasses off and breaking them into pieces. Suddenly, Zhu Rong saw Liu Yun and ran over. Mr. Liu, my dad is dying, please save my dad. Liu Yun glanced at him calmly and said, didn't someone tell me not to question his medical skills? Hu Weiping is a fucking quack. Mr. Liu, I shouldn't have lost my temper with you that day, and I shouldn't have distrusted you. You can punish me however you want, but you must save my dad, please. Although Zhu Rong is a foul-mouthed person with a bad character, he is indeed better than some people in terms of filial piety. Seeing that Liu Yun did not respond, he ran to Liu Yan'er and kowtowed several times. Miss Liu, I was mean that night. Please forgive me. Old Han also helped to plead, after all, it's a human life. Miss Liu, I'm begging you to persuade Mr. Liu. Human life. As a cold-blooded killer, Liu Yan'er had indeed killed a few people, but they were all unforgivable villains. Zhu Hongyuan didn't make any big mistakes. Moreover, before that night, Mr. Han had always been very caring towards her, and it was impossible for Liu Yan'er to remain indifferent to his plea. Little Liu Yun. Just as Liu Yan'er was about to speak, Liu Yun smiled and said, Sister Yan'er, I understand. As he said this, he walked towards Zhu Hongyuan and kicked to Wei Ping, who was blocking his way away. Open your dog eyes and see clearly, this is the 9 transformations to rejuvenate yarn needle. Liu Yun pulled out all the needles in Zhu Hongyuan's body and inserted the needles again. The movements are smooth and flowing. All in one go. And the most amazing thing is that every time he raised the needle, a vibration would burst out from the needle tip. This method. When Hu Weiping saw this scene, his pupils contracted violently and his face was full of horror. Even his teacher couldn't match his acupuncture skills to such perfection. Who exactly is this Mr. Liu in front of me? Puff. After Liu Yun finished the acupuncture, he suddenly saw Zhu Hongyuan vomiting a mouthful of black blood. This was all due to the blood stasis that Hu Weiping had suppressed using the wrong acupuncture method the night before. Dad, how are you? Zhu Rong rushed to Zhu Hongyuan. Zhu Hongyuan took a breath and said, I feel much better. I don't have the dull pain in my chest anymore. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Thank you, Mr. Liu. Thank you, Miss Liu. Zhu Rong knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the two of them. Chapter 25, Dr. Chiu shows off his abilities. Mr. Liu. Just as Liu Yun was about to leave the auction house with Sister Yan'er, Sun Tianlei suddenly came over. The person in charge of the Sun family showed a respectful expression when facing Liu Yun. He didn't know that Liu Yun was Lord Yunqian, nor did he know that he was Master Yunlu, because whether it was Lord Yunqian or Master Yunlu, the message was conveyed by King Nanjiang. Then why does Sun Tianlei respect Liu Yun so much? In the end, it all comes down to the day of Qingcheng Group's new product launch. That time, King Nanjiang found the leaders of these families and told them that the man behind Yi Qingcheng was Lord Yunqian, and hoped that they could set an example. They all knew that King Nanjiang had an elder brother who was a subordinate of Lord Yunqian, so what he said was highly credible. In addition, King Nanjiang himself also sent out an order of 5 billion, which further confirmed their thoughts. It's worth betting on the future with billions of orders. On the day of the new product launch, Sun Tianlei was present and learned that Liu Yun and Yi Qingcheng were siblings. In other words, Liu Yun was most likely the brother-in-law of Lord Yunqian. Therefore, Sun Tianlei would naturally respect Liu Yun. Several other family leaders had the same idea, except Xu Guobin. Xu Guobin faced Liu Yun's anger that day and felt his extraordinary aura. That was the domineering aura of a king who dominated the world. Combined with the attitudes of King Nanjiang and others, Xu Guobin guessed that Liu Yun was not the brother-in-law of Lord Yunqian at all, but Lord Yunqian himself. As the saying goes, sometimes your enemies know you better than your friends do. Xu Guobin has bet on the right thing, it just depends on how he uses it. At this time, facing Sun Tianlei's initiative to strike up a conversation, Liu Yun also responded in a gentle manner, What is the matter, Master Sun? He could see that Sun Tianlei probably wanted to ask him for something. Liu Yun is not a cold-blooded person. His indifference is only directed at his enemies. As long as the other party respects himself, Liu Yun will naturally return the respect. Sun Tianlei smiled and said, Mr. Liu, I just saw you give acupuncture to save that person. Are you a doctor? Liu Yun nodded, I guess so. Is there a patient in the Sun family's home? To be honest, Mr. Liu, my father is sick and hasn't eaten for 3 days, so I would like to ask Mr. Liu for help. Can. Liu Yun agreed and let Sister Yan'er go back first, while he followed Sun Tianlei to the Sun family. Old Master Sun was lying on the sickbed. His stomach was so swollen that it looked like it had 2 basketballs stuffed in it. He kept sighing and looked very worried. The Sun family members standing by also looked anxious. Liu Yun pressed the old man's abdomen with his hand, and the latter immediately cried out in pain. Liu Yan already had an idea in his mind, but before he could start the treatment, a man suddenly rushed in from outside the door in a hurry. "Brother, I have invited Dr. Chiu to come over. Let him treat our dad quickly." The person who came in looked 70% similar to Sun Qianlei. He was Sun Qiangui, the second son of the Sun family. After Sun Qiangui, a thin old man carrying a medicine box followed in. He was about 60 years old and had shifty eyes. Even though this old man doesn't look good, his medical skills are among the best in Qingcheng. He is known as the magic doctor who can cure any disease with just one dose. The so-called one dose of medicine can cure the disease means that the patient can recover from the disease with just one traditional Chinese medicine prescription. However, when he heard the news that Dr. Chiu was coming, Sun Qianlei frowned, thinking that this damn old man didn't come when he should have, but came at this time. It turned out that when the old man first fell ill, the two brothers went to ask Chiu Tongren for help, but the old man deliberately delayed and said that the disease could not be cured unless it was serious. They had no choice but to find another doctor, but they were all helpless. Mr. Chiu came over at this time, probably because he thought that time was almost up, so the medical fee was naturally whatever he said. Of course Sun Qianlei felt uncomfortable. But before he could say anything, Chiu turned his face away and said, "What do you mean? If you look down on me, Chiu, then don't invite me here." He felt unhappy when he saw Liu Yan examining Mr. Sun. Sun Qiangui didn't expect that his elder brother had already invited a doctor over. He was stunned for a moment, but seeing that Liu Yan was young, he naturally believed in Chiu Tongren's medical skills more. "Dr. Chiu, this is a misunderstanding. Don't be angry. It's because you were reluctant to come that we found other doctors. We can't just stand by and watch my dad suffer." Sun Qiangui was afraid that Chiu would turn away, so he hurriedly pulled him aside to explain. Chiu Tongren snorted coldly and said, "So you are blaming me for not coming here earlier? I dare not. I am already very grateful that divine Dr. Chiu is willing to come and treat my father. That's more like it." Chiu Tongren put on airs and said, "If you want me to treat you, I can double the consultation fee." "What?" Sun Qiangui said anxiously, "Divine Dr. Chiu, didn't we already agree on the consultation fee before? Why do you want to double it now?" "Oh, things are different now." Chiu glanced at Liu Yan with contempt, and then continued to say to Sun Qiangui, "If this guy wasn't here, the consultation fee can remain the same, but you invited this guy here, which shows your lack of trust in me, Chiu, so the consultation fee must be doubled." This. Sun Qiangui suddenly didn't know what to say. Sun Qianlei, who was standing aside, was already furious and was about to tell Chiu Tongren to get out, but he heard Liu Yan say, "Let him get treated first." Sun Qianlei had to suppress his anger temporarily, and said to Chiu Tongren in a low voice, "It doesn't matter how much the consultation fee is, as long as you can cure my father's illness." Only then did Chiu Tongren put down the medicine box in a pretentious manner and began to check the old man's pulse, while at the same time mocking Liu Yan. "Boy, you are lucky enough to see me, Chiu, take action today. You can go back and burn incense to thank him." Chapter 26, Capsize in the Ditch. Mr. Chiu's technique was indeed sophisticated, and he quickly diagnosed Mr. Sun's illness by taking his pulse. Swish, swish, swish. He quickly wrote out a prescription and handed it to Sun Qiangui, saying, "Go buy these Chinese herbs, boil them now, and take 300 milliliters of juice. Don't discard the residue." Sun Qiangui did as he was told immediately. There was a Chinese herbal medicine shop not far from Sun's home, and Sun Qiangui quickly bought the herbs. "Fry well." A bowl of black Chinese herbal medicine was brought up. Chiu said confidently, "As long as Mr. Sun drinks this bowl of medicine, his illness will be cured immediately." Sun Qiangui believed it without a doubt. But when he was about to feed the old man the medicine, he suddenly ran into trouble. "Dr. Chiu, my dad throws up every time he drinks. He can't even take the medicine. Is there such a thing?" Chiu Tongren frowned and personally took the spoon to feed the medicine to Mr. Sunday. Sure enough, he spit it out as soon as he put it into his mouth. "Mr. Sun, you must take this medicine. How can your illness be cured if you don't?" Chiu Tongren said seriously. "Mr. Sun just can't use any strength now. If he could, he would definitely raise his hand and give Mr. Chiu a slap in the face. Drink, drink. Do you think I don't want to drink? My body just won't allow it. He has difficulty even drinking water now, but Chiu Tongren keeps asking him to take medicine. Isn't this funny? Seeing that Mr. Sun still refused to take the medicine, Chiu Tongren began to worry. I can't go on like this. I can't let my reputation as a master of curing all diseases with one dose be ruined like this. Chiu Tongren frowned and thought for a while, then suddenly thought of an idea and said, let me massage Mr. Sun's stomach to smooth out his qi flow. Maybe he will be able to drink the medicine. As he spoke, Chiu Tongren used his professional Chinese medicine massage techniques to massage Mr. Sun's belly. Ouch tilde, where the hell are you pressing? Mr. Sun originally had no strength at all, but after being pressed by Mr. Chiu, he jumped up from the bed in pain and slapped him in the face. Chiu Tongren was stunned for a moment. Sun Tiangui hurriedly apologized and said, Dr. Chiu, my father didn't mean it. It must be because it hurt too much that he reacted instinctively. It was impossible for Chiu to be angry with a patient, so he could only swallow his anger and feel very depressed. He refuses to take the medicine and won't allow me to have a massage. How can this disease be cured? Is it really going to be a disaster today? That's it. At this time, Liu Yun, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly said sarcastically, I saw you acting so arrogant and thought you were so great, but it turns out you are just a waste. A piece of waste. The corners of Chiu Tongren's mouth twitched suddenly, and he turned his head and glared at Liu Yun fiercely. You uneducated thing, which hospital are you a doctor in? He had just been so angry that he had no place to vent it, and Liu Yun happened to be in the line of fire, so he became an outlet for him. As long as Liu Yun dared to tell which hospital he was in, Chiu Tongren could use his influence in Qingcheng's traditional Chinese medicine community to destroy Liu Yun's job. However, as soon as he finished speaking, there was a sudden crisp slapping sound. Bang! Chiu Tongren stumbled out suddenly and said angrily, Master Sun, what do you mean by this? The person who took action was Sun Tianlei. He had been unhappy with Chiu Tongren for a long time. If Liu Yun hadn't asked him to be patient for a while, there was no way he would have let Chiu Tongren stay until now. Sun Tianlei said coldly, if you dare to disrespect Mr. Liu again, I will slap you. You? Chiu Tongren was so angry that he was shaking all over. He pointed at Sun Tianlei and cursed, you idiot. Without me, I don't think your father's illness will be cured. That's all for you to worry about. Sun Tianlei glanced at Chiu Tongren coldly, then looked at Liu Yun and said respectfully, Mr. Liu, my father's illness is in your hands. Liu Yun nodded. Chiu Tongren couldn't help but sneered loudly, har har har, you just expect this thing to cure your father's illness. I think you just want your father to die sooner. Bang! Chiu Tongren was slapped again and fell to the ground. Some people just have bad mouths and feel uncomfortable if they don't smoke. Chiu Tongren felt a burning pain on his face, but facing the tall and strong Sun Tianlei, he did not dare to fight back. But this time he learned his lesson and kept silent. The reason why he didn't leave was because he wanted to see with his own eyes how this kid named Liu killed Grandpa's son with his medical treatment. The flies finally stopped buzzing and the scene became quiet. Liu Yun stared at the old man on the sickbed for a while, and neither prescribed medicine nor gave him acupuncture. Instead, he suddenly asked Sun Tianlei a question, what are your father's hobbies? Like? Sun Tianlei was stunned for a moment, what hobbies does Mr. Liu mean? Antiques, calligraphy and paintings are all fine. My father likes to collect antique porcelain. He has several blue and white porcelains from the Yuan dynasty in his study. Bring them all here. Sun Tianlei didn't know what Liu Yun wanted to do, but he still followed his instructions and took the blue and white porcelain. Chiu Tongren stood aside and sneered, wanting to see what this kid named Liu was up to. Master Sun, these blue and white porcelains are in great condition. You must have put a lot of effort into collecting them. Liu Yun took the blue and white porcelain and waved it in front of Grandpa Sun. Mr. Sun smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Liu, what do you mean? If it were any other time, he would definitely be happy to talk to Liu Yun about antique porcelain, but now that half his life is almost gone, who would have the mood to do so? I don't know what Liu Yun is thinking. The two brothers Sun Tianlei and Sun Tiangui also looked confused. Chiu Tongren snorted coldly and said, it's inexplicable. At this time, Liu Yun suddenly revealed a meaningful smile and said, Mr. Sun, your hobby is collecting antique porcelain, but I'm just the opposite. I like to break antiques. After saying that, he threw the blue and white porcelain in his hand to the ground in front of Mr. Sun. Chapter 27 Sun Tianlei's Decision. Bang! The blue and white porcelain fell to the ground and shattered into pieces in an instant. The expressions of the Sun Tianlei brothers changed immediately. These are the old man's favorite things. He wipes them with cotton cloth several times a day, more times than he wipes his butt. Now, Liu Yun smashed him to pieces. What was broken was not blue and white porcelain, it was clearly Mr. Sun's life. You lunatic, do you think my dad's illness isn't serious enough? How dare you smash my dad's collection? I'm going to kill you. Sun Tiangui roared angrily and rushed forward to beat Liu Yun, but was stopped by Sun Tianlei. Don't be impulsive. Mr. Liu must have his reasons for doing this. Sun Tianlei's face also looked ugly. He didn't understand why Liu Yun did this, but he chose to endure. Sun Tiangui shouted in confusion, Brother, can't you see that this guy is deliberately trying to piss off our dad? Why are you still protecting him? Sun Tianlei remained silent. What else can he do now? He can't afford to offend Liu Yun, so he can only choose to trust Liu Yun. At this time, Liu Yun had already raised the second blue and white porcelain and was about to smash it down again. Sun Tiangui's eyes were bloodshot, and he could no longer tolerate Liu Yun's misbehavior. He rushed forward and snatched the porcelain bottle. But at this moment, Old Master Sun on the sickbed was seen with a face full of anger. He stood up and prepared to curse Liu Yun, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he suddenly vomited a lot of sour and smelly food in his stomach. The belly that was as bulging as a basketball also deflated. It turned out that Mr. Sun's illness was caused by abdominal distension and food accumulation due to spleen dysfunction. In the 5 elements theory of traditional Chinese medicine, the spleen belongs to earth, the liver belongs to wood, and wood overcomes earth. Liu Yun deliberately angered Grandpa Sun, causing his liver wood fire to burn and spleen earth to lose restraint, which caused him to vomit out the accumulated food. The old man's illness was cured without any injections or medicine. The 2 Sun brothers were stunned for a moment. You were laughing happily just now. At this time, Liu Yun suddenly walked up to Chiu Tongren and slapped him on the back of the head. Just now. When Liu Yun was smashing the blue and white porcelain, Chiu Tongren was the one who laughed the happiest. He even said, "This thing is so good that it can cure diseases. I'm afraid it must be a joke hired by the monkey." Because of the noise at the time, other people may not have heard it, or perhaps everyone was focusing on the blue and white porcelain and didn't pay attention. But Liu Yun heard it. How could he, the great Lord Yunqian, be called a scoundrel? This is absolutely intolerable. So Liu Yun slapped Chiu Tongren on the back of the head, using a little force. I saw Chiu Tongren staggering forward, and as luck would have it, he fell on the puddle of Mr. Sun's vomit, and as luck would have it, he swallowed some of it. This taste is so sour and refreshing. Sun Tianlei couldn't bear to watch it any longer, so he called 2 bodyguards to drag Chiu Tongren out. Mr. Liu, I'm so sorry. I almost misunderstood you just now. Sun Tiangui said with an apologetic look on his face. He was really just about to attack Liu Yun just now, luckily the old man vomited in time. Liu Yun said nonchalantly, "It's okay, you love your father too much." Then Liu Yun looked at Grandpa Sun again and said with a smile, "Grandpa, you won't blame me for breaking your treasure again, right?" He. No, Mr. Liu saved my life, how dare I blame Mr. Liu? Old Master Sun hurriedly smiled and waved his hands. Although I was sad that I broke a piece of blue and white porcelain, I saved my life, so it was worth it. Sun Tianlei said respectfully, "Mr. Liu, please feel free to ask for the consultation fee." No need for that. After all, I broke one of your father's antiques. I won't charge you for the consultation. All I ask is that your Sun family support my sister's Qingcheng group in the future. Liu Yun said this cheerfully, and then strode away from the Sun family. Looking at Liu Yun's free and easy back, Sun Tianlei gritted his teeth and made a huge decision. Hold a family meeting immediately. I want to announce that from now on, all of our Sun family's sales channels will only serve the products of Qingcheng group. Brother, isn't this too risky? Sun Tiangui said worriedly. All sales channels only serve the products of Qingcheng group, which means that their Sun family is completely tied to Qingcheng group. This is a very risky move. If anything happens to Qingcheng group, their Sun family will face a devastating disaster. For those of us doing business, is there ever a day when we are not taking risks? Sun Tianlei had made up his mind and looked at the old man again. The old man nodded at him and said, "Since I have handed over the family business to you, I will support any decision you make. Besides, I also think that Mr. Liu is not an ordinary person. He will definitely be able to turn the storm into a dragon in the future. Mr. Liu. Sun Tianlei narrowed his eyes. What drove him to make this decision was not only Mr. Liu, but also that man. Liu Yun returned to Green Villa. Liu Yan'er asked with a half-smile, "Little Liu Yun, tell me, why did Master Yunlu suddenly give me a painting? How did he know me? You should ask Master Yunlu about this question." He, do you think I'm stupid? Tell me the truth, are you hiding something from your sister? Okay, I admit it. It was me who asked Master Yunlu to paint the rose of the prosperous era. You're still pretending. Liu Yan'er dragged Liu Yun into the room and pointed at a few crumpled pieces of rice paper on the table and said, "I've already looked through your trash can. Apart from a few strange pieces of toilet paper, these are the rest." Liu Yun was speechless. "Sister Yan'er, are you a fool? No decent person would rummage through a trash can." However, Liu Yun also knew what these wrinkled rice papers were. They were the discarded drafts when he was painting The Rose of Prosperity. Chapter 28. This is a misunderstanding. Liu Yun was just teasing Sister Yan'er. There is no need to hide Master Yunlu's identity. Since Sister Yan'er had discovered it, Liu Yun simply admitted it. Suddenly, Liu Yan'er's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. "I have admired the idol for so long, but I didn't expect that he is actually my own younger brother." Everyone would be excited. What moved Liu Yan'er the most was that, in order to help her vent her anger, little Liu Yun actually went to great lengths to organize an auction, making himself the center of everyone's attention. If I hadn't exposed him, he would still refuse to admit that he was Master Yunlu. What is this called? This is called silent protection, which gives you the warmest feeling in the world inadvertently. Liu Yan'er seemed to have found a harbor deep in her heart, a harbor where she could take off all her disguises and dock safely. Little Liu Yun. Liu Yan'er was so moved that she hugged Liu Yun, but she lost her balance and they fell together. Liu Yun immediately frowned and said, "Sister Yan'er, you may be touched, but don't try to take advantage of me. Lord Yunqian is a very principled person." When Liu Yan'er saw Liu Yun's expression, she was playful and generous. The corners of her tender lips suddenly drew up a charming smile and said, "Isn't my sister pretty?" Liu Yan'er looked down at Liu Yun from above, and with her slender hands she pushed the hair that was blocking her vision behind her ears. Liu Yun suddenly lost his composure. "Sister Yan'er is playing with fire. No. She is my sister." Liu Yun was about to push away Liu Yan'er who was playing with fire, but suddenly he heard a cold voice, which almost scared him to death. "You guys are having a lot of fun." Qingcheng was seen with her arms folded across her chest, half leaning on the door edge, her pretty face cold. "Ahem. Sister Qingcheng, this is a misunderstanding." Just as Liu Yun was about to explain, he suddenly felt an icy slap coming towards his face. "Why are you hitting me? Innocent." After teaching Liu Yun a lesson, Qingcheng said to Liu Yan'er coldly, "Third sister, you will sleep in the same room with me from now on, so that you won't do anything wrong." Liu Yan'er stuck out her tongue unwillingly, but she had to listen to her elder sister. Among the 7 sisters, Qingcheng is still very majestic. Millionaire. An underground casino in Jiangcheng. A dozen shirtless men with dragon and tiger tattoos on their arms gathered together. There were 2 people among them. One is their boss, the flower-armed dragon, who holds a big cigar in his mouth and looks ferocious, which makes people feel scared just by looking at him. This person has a bad reputation and can stop children from crying at night. The other person was Wang Gang, who was kneeling on the ground and trembling. "Long. Brother Long, didn't we agree to pay you back within a week? It hasn't even been a week yet. You think I'm stupid, don't you?" The flower-armed dragon suddenly poked the cigar into Wang Gang's head and cursed, "If I hadn't sent someone to keep an eye on you, you would have run away to another province." Regarding the Qingcheng group incident a few days ago, Shu Kai promised Wang Gang that as long as he stood up to discredit Qingcheng, he would help him pay off his gambling debts. But who knew that something would change halfway through? The king of Nanjiang suddenly showed up out of nowhere and disrupted all the plans. Shu Kai couldn't even protect himself, so naturally he couldn't take care of Wang Gang. Wang Gang had no choice but to flee to another province. However, he was stopped by Huarbalong's men as soon as he arrived at the train station. "Brother Long. I don't want to escape, really, believe me, I just want to go to the train station to relieve my sexual desire." You know, that's the place with the most of these, and the price is cheap. Bang! Warbalong slapped Wangang on the face. You are such a talent. You can even find such an excuse. Don't hit me, don't hit me. Brother Long, please. Wangang desperately begged for mercy. Give me a few more days, I will definitely pay the money back within the agreed time. Return? How can you return it? The flower-armed dragon pretended to hit Wangang again, and Wangang quickly hugged his thigh and said, Brother Long, believe me. I will definitely be able to raise the money. You know Yi Qingcheng, she is my eldest sister. She is very rich, and she has a very good relationship with King Nanjiang. King Nanjiang? The flower-armed dragon was stunned for a moment. Wangang thought he had found an opportunity and said hurriedly, Yes, it's the king of Nanjiang. My eldest sister is the king of Nanjiang's woman. It seems that he is preparing to use King Nanjiang to suppress the flower-armed dragon. Who knows? After being stunned for a while, the flower-armed dragon suddenly burst into laughter, and the men with dragon and tiger tattoos around him also laughed. Wangang, har har har, I really admire your genius more and more. Can you make up a more bizarre reason? Just say that your elder sister is the woman of Lord Yunqian and see if we will believe it. Brother Long, I really didn't lie to you. Bang! Flower-armed dragon slapped him again, his smile stopped, and he said with a fierce expression, Stop wasting my time, I'm going to call your elder sister and ask for money now. Wangang froze. The flower-armed dragon said angrily, What are you still standing there for? Do you want to be beaten up by me first? No, don't get me wrong, Brother Long. It's because I've asked my eldest sister for money many times. She definitely won't believe me anymore. Wangang's voice trembled. Seeing that Warbalong was about to attack again, he hurriedly added. However, Brother Long, you just need to take a video of me, send it to my eldest sister and tell her that if she doesn't give you money, then go and harass Grandpa Wu, and she will definitely give you the money. Wangang also knew in his heart that he was nothing in Yi Qingcheng's eyes. But Grandpa Wu is different. Yi Qingcheng definitely cares about Grandpa Wu. As long as she seizes this weakness, she will definitely not sit idly by. The flower-armed dragon raised his foot and kicked Wangang in the face, sneering, You are really a filial son. Chapter 29 It's not a request, it's a warning. Liu Yun had originally planned to meet his second sister today, but when he arrived in the living room, he saw Sister Qingcheng sitting on the sofa with a sullen look on her face. What's wrong, sister? Liu Yun asked. It's all about that ungrateful bastard Wangang. Yi Qingcheng angrily played the video on her phone to Liu Yun. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in Liu Yun's eyes. Sister, don't think too much, I will take care of it. Are you going to look for King Nanjiang? No need. Liu Yun sneered and left Green Villa directly. Yi Qingcheng was still worried, so she called Liu Yan'er again. After all, Liu Yan'er runs a bar and has some connections in the grey area. Maybe she happens to know the millionaire boss and can ask for a favor. When the call was connected, Liu Yan'er's puzzled voice came from the other end. Sister, why are you calling me at this time? Wangang was detained by the millionaire's people. Yi Qingcheng made it short. It's none of my business if he's detained. Little Liu Yun went there too. What? Little Liu Yun is there too? I'm going to blow up that millionaire right now. Liu Yan'er hung up the phone with a snap, found a bayonet and put it behind her waist, then rushed to the millionaire's house. Flower-armed dragon, if my little Liu Yun loses a single hair, I will definitely make you live a life worse than death. At this moment, Liu Yun had already arrived at the entrance of the casino. His expression was cold. He doesn't care whether Wangang is dead or alive. What he cared about was that flower-armed dragon actually dared to harass Sister Qingcheng and even threatened to harass Grandpa Wu. This person should be executed. Show your ID card. Two indifferent men in black were standing at the door, stopping Liu Yun and speaking. Millionaires generally do not allow strangers to enter. Whenever a stranger wants to enter, he must be introduced by a regular customer. Regular customers usually have a special casino ID card. The two men stopped Liu Yun just for a routine check. Liu Yun said in a cold tone, Get out of the way. Are you here to cause trouble? The two men reacted quickly, their faces grim, but before they could make a move, they suddenly felt a sharp pain in their abdomen. Then, boom! Their bodies slammed against the door and fell inside. There were many gamblers playing baccarat in the casino, and they were all startled when they heard the loud noise coming from the door. What's going on? Everyone looked towards the gate in confusion. A young man with a cold face walked in. If you don't want to die, get out of here. The young man's voice was not loud, but everyone in the casino could hear it clearly. Especially when he spoke, the temperature of the entire casino seemed to drop. This is a god of death. The gamblers were frightened and did not dare to stay any longer. Soon the casino was cleared out, leaving only a few beautiful female dealers, hiding under the table and shivering. What's going on? Hearing the sound, the flower-armed dragon came running, followed by his group of subordinates with tattoos of dragons and tigers. The moment he saw Liu Yun, the flower-armed dragon's pupils shrank suddenly. Who are you? Liu Yun did not answer, but asked, You are the one who sent the video to my sister, right? Warbalong immediately realized that this man was looking for Wang Gang, so he waved his hand, and several of his men immediately ran to close the door of the casino and then blocked Liu Yun. Flower-armed dragon ordered one of his men, Go and drag that bastard out. Soon, Wang Gang, with a bruised face and nose, was dragged out. When he saw Liu Yun, he immediately shouted excitedly, Liu Yun, save me. It must be my elder sister who asked you to save me, right? Shut up. Warbalong slapped Wang Gang in the face to make him quiet down, then turned to look at Liu Yun and said, You should redeem someone with the right attitude. You drove away my guests as soon as you arrived. How do you settle this account? Liu Yun suppressed his anger and said coldly, How are you going to settle this? He. The flower-armed dragon sneered twice, first kneel down and kowtow to apologize, then pay the money to redeem your brother. Liu Yun did not speak, but looked at the flower-armed dragon quietly for a few seconds before he slowly spoke. First, there is no way I can kowtow to you and apologize. Second, I don't have any ransom money on me. Third, this kind of trash is not qualified to be my Liu Yun's brother. After the words fell, the casino was silent for a moment, and then the furious voice of the flower-armed dragon was heard, What the hell are you doing here without a ransom? Are you trying to play a trick on me? I'm just here to tell you that you can deal with trash like Wang Gang however you want, but please stop harassing my sister and Grandpa Wu. As soon as these words came out, Wang Gang immediately became anxious. Liu Yun, after all, we grew up in the same orphanage, how could you just stand by and watch someone die? Shut up. Flower-armed dragon slapped Wang Gang again, then looked at Liu Yun, So, this is your attitude when asking for help. He pointed in the direction of the door. The two men in black guarding the gate were still lying on the ground wailing, their stomachs churning. Liu Yun shook his head and said, I'm not begging you, but warning you. I think you're looking for death. The flower-armed dragon's face suddenly turned gloomy, and his eyes were full of ferocity. At this moment, a sturdy man suddenly stood up and said, Brother Long, I think this guy is a martial artist, why don't you let me meet him? The man who spoke was named Li Hu, a gold medal fighter under Warbalong. Li Hu played an indispensable role in Warbalong's current status. Flower-armed dragon nodded, and then said to Liu Yun, Boy, don't say I didn't give you a chance. As long as you can survive 10 moves from my brother, everything can be discussed. But if you can't? He sneered. Not only can Wang Gang not leave, but you have to stay here today. The ransom will be increased tenfold. Bang! As soon as Warbalong finished speaking, he suddenly saw Liu Yun turned into a shadow and kicked Li Hu with an extremely violent kick. Although Li Hu crossed his arms in front of him in time, the terrifying force was beyond his ability to withstand. His arms were broken instantly and his chest caved in violently. Liu Yun turned his head to look at the flower-armed dragon and said calmly, What did you just say? Chapter 30, The King's Wrath, Killing with Breath. Click. The flower-armed dragon's jaw almost dropped in shock. One kick. With just one kick, Li Hu was kicked flying and his arm was broken. Others may not know how powerful Li Hu is, but Warbalong knows it very well. Li Hu has been hitting wooden stakes every day since he was 10 years old, and has been doing so for more than 20 years. His arms were already 3 times as hard as those of an ordinary person. It was precisely with this pair of iron hands that Li Hu stood out among many fighters and became Warbalong's most trusted subordinate. Even Warbalong has been training him as his successor. But today, in front of this young man named Liu Yun, Li Hu couldn't even take a kick from him. His pair of indestructible iron hands seemed as fragile as a piece of white paper. One can imagine how powerful Liu Yun's kick was. The flower-armed dragon's heart was filled with turmoil. He looked at Liu Yun with wide eyes and asked, "Who are you?" A person with such great martial arts skills and still so young can definitely not be an unknown person. Therefore, Warbalong must ask clearly to avoid provoking forces that should not be provoked. "Who am I?" Facing the question from the flower-armed dragon, Liu Yun chuckled and said, "I am just a person who can sacrifice his life to protect my sister." The flower-armed dragon's heart was shaken. Ponder for a moment. Suddenly he said seriously, "Since you are so good at fighting, why don't you come and help me? Not only will I stop harassing your sister, I can also take you to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. How about it?" The flower-armed dragon quickly extended an olive branch and waited quietly for Liu Yun's answer. However, Liu Yun looked at him with a strange expression, and then uttered 3 words softly, "You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it." These 3 words are so impactful. The thugs around were all shocked. They dreamed of being valued by Brother Long, but they just didn't have the skills. But this kid named Liu Yun was different. Brother Long took the initiative to recruit him, but he actually said, "You don't deserve it. It's a bit ungrateful." Flower-armed dragon's face also darkened, and he said, "Boy, I thought you were a sensible person, but I didn't expect you to refuse my toast and drink a forfeit." Being rejected by Liu Yun in front of so many subordinates, Warbalong was naturally unhappy. What was even more unreasonable was that Liu Yun actually repeated his original words to Warbalong and said, "I also thought you were a sensible person, but now it seems that you are playing with fire and getting burned." Playing with fire and getting burned? Har har. I want to see who is playing with fire and getting burned. A hideous sneer appeared on the corner of the flower-armed dragon's mouth, and he suddenly reached into the inner pocket of his shirt. When he took it out, there was a homemade pistol in his hand. The dark cave entrance locked onto Liu Yun. "You're good at hand and foot skills, aren't you? You're very fast, aren't you? Let's see if you can be faster than a bullet." How could Warbalong reach his current status without something to protect himself? He has already killed several gang bosses with this pocket pistol. "I don't mind killing one more person today." Liu Yun's eyes narrowed, and he looked directly at the flower-armed dragon and said, "You want to kill me? Har har, if you want me to spare you, kneel down and kowtow 100 times, then crawl under my crotch." The flower-armed dragon said with a sneer. "Are you sure?" Liu Yun asked again. Click. The flower-armed dragon simply pulled the safety pin as a response to Liu Yun's question. Liu Yun paused. Then, the murderous intent in his body surged. "Very good, you can report to the King of Hell now." As he spoke, Liu Yun suddenly walked towards the flower-armed dragon, completely ignoring the existence of the pocket pistol. Hua Jilong had never encountered such a situation before. Every time he took out a pistol, didn't the other party get scared to death? But Liu Yun, facing the black muzzle of the gun, became even more radical. "Is this guy a lunatic?" Flower-armed dragon's heart trembled, especially when he saw Liu Yun's eyes that showed no fear but only indifference. He became more certain that this man was a complete lunatic. "If you take another step forward, I will really shoot." Flower-armed dragon himself did not notice that his voice was trembling slightly when he spoke, and his momentum was completely at a disadvantage. You know, he is the one holding the deadly weapon, so why would he feel such an inexplicable uneasiness? The flower-armed dragon had no time to think, because Liu Yun ignored his warning and came to within 5 meters of him. "Go to hell!" Finally, the flower-armed dragon couldn't bear the huge pressure anymore and pulled the trigger. Bang! A puff of black smoke came out of the muzzle of the gun, and the high-speed spinning bullet instantly shot towards Liu Yun's face. But at this critical moment, "Break!" Liu Yun suddenly shouted in shock. Just see. The bullet that was fired at high speed seemed to be frozen by some mysterious force. As the sound waves spread, it suddenly turned back and pierced into the center of the flower-armed dragon's eyebrows with a bang. The flower-armed dragon would never have imagined in its dreams that there would be such strange things in this world. Bullet ricochet. And it was bounced back by the sound. Flower-armed dragon couldn't figure it out, and he didn't need to understand, because at this moment he was already dead and could not die anymore. Liu Yun glanced at the body of the flower-armed dragon indifferently, and then looked away. This was the first time he used his magical powers to kill ordinary people from the Dragon Kingdom. I guess it won't be the last time. From now on, this will be the fate of anyone who dares to disrespect the sisters. At this moment, the thugs around were completely shocked. Who would believe such a bizarre method if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes? And even if I saw it with my own eyes, it felt like a dream. Killing people with breath, so terrifying. Li Hu asked in horror, "Sir, who are you?" Liu Yun suppressed his murderous intent and said softly, "You can call me King Tianai, or you can call me Lord Yunqian." Chapter 31 Beautiful Doctor, I'm sick. The King of Heaven. Lord Yunqian. Li Hu and others were immediately devastated, their hearts and livers shattered. How could such a being like a dragon god appear in this small Qingcheng? And he was so young? Plop. Everyone knelt down. There was no need for Liu Yun to say anything more. Just mentioning the name of Lord Yunqian was enough to make these people tremble and kneel down. Wang Gang was struck by lightning. So stupid. Completely stupid. How could he believe that the skinny kid who grew up with him in Sunshine Orphanage had become the unrivaled Lord Yunqian? But he himself is still messing around like a dog. For people like you, it's a sin to be alive. If it weren't for Grandpa Wu's sake, I would have killed you 3 or 4 times already. As Liu Yun spoke, he pinched Wang Gang's head and shook it, and Wang Gang's mind suddenly went blank. He was really stupid this time. After doing all this, Liu Yun left the millionaire. Li Hu glanced at the body on the ground, and suddenly shouted to the thugs around him, "Brother Long committed suicide, remember?" "Yes, Brother Tiger." As soon as Liu Yun walked out of the millionaire's house, he saw Sister Yan'er rushing towards him with murderous intent. When she saw Liu Yun, she was stunned for a moment. "Little Liu Yun, did the flower-armed dragon do anything to you?" Liu Yun smiled and said, "Your brother is very powerful. When the flower-armed dragon saw me, he couldn't even kneel down. How could he dare to make things difficult for me?" At this moment, he no longer had the domineering aura he had just had. He was just an ordinary younger brother. Liu Yan'er held her chest, which was rising and falling violently, and said with a long sigh, "Luckily you're okay, otherwise I would have hung up the flower-armed dragon and skinned it and pulled out its tendons." Liu Yun. "Sister Yan'er, your method of whipping corpses is pretty good. By the way, didn't you say you wanted to see your second sister? Come on, I'll take you there." Liu Yan'er suddenly hooked her arms around Liu Yun's neck and said. Liu Yun asked in surprise, "You're not going to work today? Since we're already out, I might as well go with you. Hurry up and get in the car. I'm an experienced driver." "All right." Liu Yun had no choice but to nod, and suddenly asked, "Sister Yan'er, did you miss someone?" "Who is it?" "Wang Gang." "Who is Wang Gang?" "I don't know him. I only know Xiao Liu Yun. Liu Yan'er's car is a black Mercedes-Benz. Generally, this type of car is driven more by men and is not suitable for girls. But Liu Yan'er is different. The majestic black Benz matches her queen aura very well, without any sense of incongruity. Vehicles were speeding on the avenue of Qingcheng. Liu Yan'er asked, "Do you know everything about my second sister's situation?" "Sister Qingcheng has already told me." Liu Yun nodded. The second sister, Lin Qingtan, is an old Chinese doctor who specializes in treating boasters. She used to work at Jiangcheng Traditional Chinese Medicine Hospital, but later resigned for unknown reasons. Now she runs her own Chinese medicine clinic, called Xinglintang. Your second sister's clinic is right in front. Liu Yan'er said when the car was about to arrive at Xinglin Hall. "I'll get off here. Don't need me to follow you." Liu Yun chuckled and said, "I'm going to give my second sister a surprise. If you follow me, won't that expose my identity?" Liu Yan'er suddenly remembered the scene of the day she met Liu Yun. She couldn't help but glared at him and said, "I think it's more like a shock. I warn you, second sister is a good girl and can't stand being scared. Isn't Sister Yan'er a good girl?" Liu Yun regretted asking this question as soon as he asked it, because he felt that something was increasingly wrong with Liu Yan'er's eyes. "Little Liu Yun, we have our elder sister watching over us at home, and now no one is watching over us. Her voice has a unique charm, which is the legendary royal sister voice, full of charm." Liu Yun was startled and said quickly, "Sister Yan'er. I'll get off first." Looking at Liu Yun's fleeing back, Liu Yan'er raised a thrilling smile, "Humph, little guy. Come to Xinglin Hall." Liu Yun had seen the photo before, so he recognized at a glance that the doctor on duty was his second sister Lin Qingtan. Lin Qingtan was wearing a white coat. As it was summer, the sleeves were very short, revealing her 2 snow-white arms. At the slit of the coat below, a pair of white and tender legs dazzled the eyes. "My second sister is also a real beauty. Taking advantage of the fact that there was no one in the Chinese medicine clinic at the moment, Liu Yan quickly walked in and sat opposite his second sister. "Beautiful doctor, I'm sick." Liu Yan went straight to the point. Lin Qingtan looked up and saw a young man looking at her with a smile. Their face looked quite familiar and she was stunned. Impossible. Lin Qingtan denied himself in his heart. At this time, Liu Yan's voice sounded again, "Beautiful doctor, please help me quickly, don't just stand there." I'm sorry, sir, are you feeling unwell?" Lin Qingtan apologized hurriedly. Looking at his second sister's awkward look, Liu Yan inexplicably felt that she was cute. Besides, my second sister's voice is so beautiful. Her soft voice, like a trickle of water, brings a sense of pleasure that nourishes the heart. She is not as cold as the eldest sister, nor as charming as the third sister. She is a typical warm-hearted eldest sister. "Beautiful doctor, my illness is very strange. Every time I see a beautiful woman, my heart beats faster. Especially now, I feel like my heart is about to jump out of my throat. What do you think I should do?" Lin Qingtan was stunned for a moment, then replied with a smile, "Sir, you are not sick, you are just greedy for the girl's body. I suggest you go home and take a cold shower to see if the situation will get better." Chapter 32. This situation requires amputation. Liu Yan is obviously looking for trouble. If it were an ordinary person, he would have definitely cursed him as a hooligan and slapped him in the face. But Lin Qingtan still spoke in a gentle voice, as if she would never get angry. People with this kind of personality are actually very easy to suffer losses. Liu Yan really couldn't bear to tease his second sister anymore, so he called his eldest sister Qingcheng. One reason was to let her know that he was safe and that he had gotten out of the casino safely, and the other was to ask her to help him explain his identity. When Lin Qingtan learned the truth, his cell phone fell to the ground with a click. My eyes suddenly became moist. No wonder it seemed so familiar, it turned out not to be an illusion. The brother and sister hugged each other and naturally talked about their past. Liu Yan recalled, "Second sister, do you remember when we were kids and we were competing to see who could jump the farthest, and you accidentally tore your crotch, and because I made fun of you, you ignored me for several days?" Lin Qingtan didn't expect Liu Yan to still remember this matter. Her face turned red and she argued, "Nonsense, that's obviously your eldest sister. Lin Qingtan. I haven't even hung up the phone yet, and you dare to throw dirty water on me. Just wait and see how I'll deal with you next time." At this moment, Qingcheng's cold voice suddenly came from the phone. Lin Qingtan realized that she was too excited and forgot to hang up the phone, so she quickly changed the topic and said, "Maybe I remembered it wrong. It should be your fourth sister." As he said that, he picked up the phone from the ground and hung up mercilessly, not giving Qingcheng a chance to lose her temper. At this time, a beautiful reporter who was far away in Cambodia investigating the kidnapping of King Jiji said, Then the brother and sister chatted for a while, and suddenly a father and son hurriedly ran in from outside the door. The older one was in his 40s and the younger one was in his early 20s. "Is Dr. Li here? Come and take a look at my dad's hand. His arm is broken." The young man didn't even have time to catch his breath. After running into Xinglin Hall, he immediately spoke in a hurry. "I saw that the front and back parts of his father's left upper arm were greatly twisted, and it was obviously a fracture." Lin Qingtan immediately went up to him and said, "Dr. Li is not here. I'm on duty today. I can try to help your father reset his position." "Try." The young man immediately became anxious. No, I don't trust female doctors. I only want Dr. Li. When it comes to treating common diseases, there is actually not much difference between male and female doctors. However, bone injuries are different, especially fracture reduction, which requires a certain amount of strength. In this respect, female doctors are definitely not as good as male doctors. It is normal that the young man does not trust Lin Qingtan. At present, there are 3 doctors in Xinglin Hall, including Lin Qingtan himself. The most famous one is Dr. Li Quan, as the young people call him. Every time when Li Quan is on duty, Xinglintang has the most patients, because these patients all recognize people. Of course, it doesn't mean that whoever is more famous has better medical skills. The reason why Li Quan is so popular is because his teacher is the national medical master Yu Hongwen. As long as the sign of Yu Hongwen's direct disciple is hung there, patients will subconsciously think that Li Quan is trustworthy. This is why many Chinese medicine hospitals spend a lot of money to re-employ those famous old Chinese medicine doctors because they value their fame. This situation is more obvious in small clinics. Even if Lin Qingtan's medical skills are very high, it is difficult to attract patients without fame. They prefer to go to big hospitals for treatment. So Lin Qingtan had no choice but to hire Li Quan at a high price, and Xinglantan's business gradually improved. This is not the first time something like this has happened. Lin Qingtan said helplessly, "Okay, you guys sit and wait for a while, I'll call Dr. Li to see if he's free." Li Quan has a bad temper, and even Lin Qingtan, the boss of Xinglantan, is a little afraid of him. As expected, as soon as their call was connected, Li Quan on the other end started cursing at Lin Qingtan, basically telling him not to bother him during the break. Lin Qingtan hung up the phone feeling wronged, but still tried to speak to the young man in a gentle tone. "Dr. Li is busy with other things now, let me do it." No, I'd rather go to an orthopedic hospital farther away." The young man was about to leave with his father, but then he saw Liu Yun walk out and said, "Since you don't trust the female doctor, let me do it." "You?" The young man glanced at him suspiciously. Lin Qingtan was about to say something, but when Liu Yun gave her a look, she chose to remain silent. Liu Yun smiled and said, "Yes, it's me. I'm a newly hired doctor at Xinglin Hall, and I specialize in treating bone injuries." "Okay then, show my dad his arm." The young man was not suspicious. Liu Yun walked forward and looked at the patient's arm, but his expression suddenly became serious. "Your father's condition is a bit serious. What's wrong?" The young man was instantly worried. "This is a severe dislocation of the elbow joint, which compresses the ulnar nerve and causes dysfunction in the movement of the finger joints." "So what?" the young man asked hurriedly. Liu Yun thought about it and said seriously, "In this case, amputation is necessary." "Amputation?" The young man's eyes suddenly widened to the size of a bull. Lin Qingtan's face also changed, thinking how could little Liu Yun talk nonsense, no one had a broken bone that needed amputation. When Liu Yun gave her a look just now, Lin Qingtan thought he was really sure, but she didn't expect him to be so nonsensical. Lin Qingtan has always maintained a serious attitude towards medical issues. So no matter how much she loved little Liu Yun, she felt a little disappointed with him at this moment. After disappearing for 15 years, how come he has become so unreliable after returning? The young man reacted immediately and yelled, "Amputate, amputate your mother's limbs, do you know how to heal diseases?" The patient was so angry that he was shaking all over. "Quack, quack, how did I offend you that you want to hurt me like this?" Click. At this moment, Liu Yun suddenly pressed on the patient's elbow joint with lightning speed and reset it instantly. The patient was so angry that he didn't even feel the pain. It was not until the joint was repositioned that the father and son were stunned. "Huh? Is that it?"